Steve, how did you get into everything about, let's start there, a little bit about you before we kick into tissue sorts, if that's all right.
I used to work for the health insurance industry and the life insurance industry inside. I worked for United Healthcare, formerly Travelers Insurance, Blue Cross. Later, I got into the agency side. I do have a kind of a medical background. I did work as a liaison with doctors between the medical companies. So I'm a musician and a filmmaker. I'm not a doctor, which is hilarious. That's what's really funny is I'm doing health talks and I'm on with people like you and Dr. Berlando and my friend and my doctor, Dr. Amanda Volmer. And I've got people writing me letters showing me like pictures of their bumps on their genitals and stuff. I'm not a fucking doctor. And I think it's really telling of the state of the world today, Lisa, is that if you're writing me for medical advice instead of a doctor, we've got problems. And I'm not allowed, obviously, to give them medical advice because of legal problems. So I can never do that. I can say, I can't tell you this, but here's what I would do if it were me. And I send them the links and this and that. And as you were saying, we're going to talk about the cell salts today. And I made some notes here. You're a homeopath.
Yes.
Now, dummies like me, I used to think homeopath means stay at home and do your own home medicine, right? Like that's what a dummy like me thinks. But I looked it up. Homeopathy comes from the word homeos, which means like. I'm going to read my notes, similar or
I
same
love
kind
it.
of this, but this is for people listening. But the second part is what's fascinating. Homeos is like, similar, or same kind. Pathy comes from pathia. One word is disease. And that's where all homeopathy comes from is disease. The other word for pathia is feeling and emotion, mind, emotion, heart, feeling. So in other words, homeopathy means like, similar kind of mind or feeling or emotion, which is homeostasis, which means a state of equilibrium maintained by a self-regulating process. Okay, equilibrium with what? The self is equilibrium with what? What is it supposed to equilibrate with? And it's external changing forces and circumstances by the presence of feedback mechanisms, which means dis-ease, disease, which I call dis-ease, means your body gives you diseases to tell you that you are not mentally and emotionally in harmony with your surroundings. And to me, that's homeopathy. And I'm shocked that homeopaths and naturopaths, I'm shocked that a musician and a filmmaker like me is one of the few people out there with people like yourself, Dr. Berlando. There's not many people out there talking about cell salts, which is the mechanism that marries the two together. Your disease is mental, but cell salts, you're not just mental and you're not just physical. They are married together and they are causing each other, the mind body mirror. You can heal one or the other and they will heal the other. And I think it's shocking that somebody like me is even out here having this talk with you. Where are the rest of you doctors? Where are you?
I appreciate you doing this. And as a little bit of context for people listening,
I'm not a doctor. I drink wine. I smoke cigarettes. I'm a musician. This is why I got into cell salts, is because I realized that I live what you would call a very unhealthy life. And I needed to balance this out, which is why I got into this in the first place.
but as you say, the mind is so important. So, as a bit of context, I guess it's brilliant you've done that intro because I'm going to be totally blunt about tissue salts from when I studied them at homeopathy school. I studied for 4 years and it was the most amazing experience. And we learned about all the homeopathic remedies, of which there are, I think, over 8,000 now. Obviously, we didn't learn all 8,000, but you learn about the depths and the profile and the emotional side and what event may have caused someone to go into that energetic state. And it's so interesting, exciting. And then we had one weekend on tissue salts
One weekend, yeah.
and it was a bit dumb. The lecture was great, but it was a bit more by this, and it was later on in the studies, and it was presented a bit more like it's a bridge between sort of homeopathy and supplements. It's to help the body more on a physical level. And then we were just told about the 12 core tissue salts, one after the other. And by the end, I'm like, oh my God, where's like the homeopathic profiles where you're learning about sulfur and the ragged philosopher? And so it felt very dry, to be honest. And that was the extent of it. And so I knew they're amazing. I've shared this about how, my husband had a cavity and he came back, and I said to him, look, just don't go back and get it filled. Just wait and have calc flor and calc phos, because I'd been learning about them at the time at college. And lo and behold, the cavity went when he went back and they couldn't find it. I know they're amazing, but I also found them a little bit, to be honest, boring. I shouldn't say that because I've written a book on it, but that's the honest truth. The book's not boring. Then I listened to you on the end of COVID on the esoteric biochemistry. It was the last episode on the end of COVID. And I was a bit like, see, when I first turned it on, I was like, sort to the last episode, just because that's where my mind had been. And then I listened and I totally reframed and had my mindset of them and had a new respect after hearing you talk about them. And obviously it was with Bear and Amanda as well. And it was just, and Dawn was hosting it. And it was such an amazing episode. And I thought, yeah, the way you bring them to life is phenomenal. Thank you for doing what you do.
And again, like, to me, it's ridiculous that I felt I'm outclassed. I'm sitting there with Dawn Lester, Dr. Berlando, Dr. Mandeville. What am I doing there, like, in the first place, right? And that's why I still talk about them, is obviously we don't understand this. If your doctors, your homeopaths, your naturopaths, your allopaths will never hear about this. It's all physical, plant, and with health, diet, I stay out of the vegan and the meat wars. You can hear 20 experts and they all totally disagree with each other, and their advice only works on some people and not the other. It's because it's all a mind construct. It's mental and emotional, married with the physical. There's no physical solution. There's no mental solution. Acupuncture, it's not that. It's not German new medicine. It's not that they aren't relevant. It's that they are a circle of what we call health, which is funny because your show's called The Health Rebel. How fucking ridiculous, pardon my French, can I swear on this show? I don't know.
Of course.
Yeah. How ridiculous is it that you have to call your show Health Rebel as if you have to rebel against health? That just lets you know that we have no friggin' clue what health is, or there's nothing to rebel against. You're either healthy or you're not. You know what I'm saying? I had a bandmate, he died of a brain tumor, really the surgeries, but this guy was not driving around in Disneyland, 300 pounds, eating bricks of cheddar like a wheelchair. He was a skinny little vegetarian dude, really good, and a very cool guy, but very negative all the time. Just everything is negative. Couldn't see the positive at anything. And sure enough, if people like this, those are the ones getting sick. You don't see happy people. Bruce Lipton, and I don't agree with the genetics or the biology. I agree with the biology of belief. I don't agree with cell membranes and how he says it works. It's true. When you're newly in love, have you ever been sick?
So true, isn't it? Yeah.
Job, of your dream job. You didn't call in sick with emotional distress, right? It's always these mentally unbalanced people. And the cell salts, as we'll get into today, there is a physical part of your physical body that regulates whether your mental and emotional state of your heart and your mind work. A machine doesn't work if there's no oil in your car, it doesn't run. There's not wrong with your Ferrari. But if you don't put oil in the fucking Ferrari, it's not going to drive, even though it was.
Yeah, and actually, this is a really valid point you've raised. And just for the homeopaths listening out there, because we often think about the mental side causing the physical issues. But if we think back to, there's a famous homeopath from, I think it was the 19th century or early 20th century, James Compton Burnett, and he used organ support remedies. And he would actually say that if you treated like the pathology, say the heart with Protagus or some other kind of organ support specifically for the heart, or the liver with adonium or a liver support remedy, then the actual overall health would improve as well. Like, you don't always, so there's always different approaches. So although like classically and classical homeopaths will be looking at the mental and emotional and going in at that angle, there's many tools that we can use. And I do think tissue salts are often overlooked by many of us. So.
And yeah, exactly. And the thing is, tissue salts are not supplements. They are not. They are the essence of what your plant medicine is made of. So all they're doing is taking the same plants you guys give to people, and they are reducing them to such a level where you've got 7,000 of that same plant reduced to a pill this big, right? Oh, and there's still some of the plant left. We'll get into titration 6 times, 12 times. All it's saying is there's an essence in those plants. It's not the plant that's healing you, it's the spirit or essence in that plant. And what cell salts are is what our bodies are made of, as we'll get into. You're just taking this many plants that you couldn't possibly eat in 3 days and turning them into a pill this big with the essence of the plant and still some of the plant left. And that energy, and we'll get into that. You are not a physical body and you are not a spirit having a physical experience. You are a combination of both. And it's that energy of those plants are what heal you, not the green leaf, not the stem. It's the energy in the green leaf and the stem that is healing you, not the plant. The plant's not healing you. It's the plant's spiritual energy and essence that's healing you. And cell salts are a reduced form, like alchemy. I'm drinking wine. This isn't a grape that's getting me drunk. It's the essence, the spiritual essence that has been reduced that is doing it, right? There's a huge difference, and we are physical and spiritual. We are both. We are married. We are not a spirit having a physical experience, and we are not a physical being that's spiritual. We are intertwined. And they don't teach it to anybody. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And people that are new to homeopathy as well find that aspect really tricky to get their head round, because they're taking the pills and they're thinking it's something crushed up in that pill. And like the beginner of homeopathy, when they first find out, when I teach my beginners courses, and I used to do it live, and I would teach how we make the remedies, and I'd see their faces be like, what? There's no chemical substance in there. And it's amazing. Oh, actually, I won't go. I'll just fill you in briefly.
Yeah, go there. Let's go there. Let's jump right the fuck
in. So you can take this to a whole nother level of, I don't know if I want to go here again, but I've started to.
Go there. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go
there. I shared the other day on my Instagram page about paper remedies, how actually you can write the name of I don't know what your thoughts are on this, actually, Steve. I'd be interested to get your opinion, but you can write the name of the remedy, the homeopathic remedy, on a piece of paper, and you can put your water over it, leave it, and then shake it. And then you can, when you're desperate, you can actually, even when you're not desperate. Now, everyone that says, oh, that can't work, I used to think that couldn't work. When I haven't had a remedy on me, I've done it and it's worked without fail. And everyone I know that has used it has said, so many people, I commented on this Instagram post about how, yeah, I've done that and it's amazing. Then I had a few really aggressively, and I linked to Veda Austin's work and the work she's on water, but I had some people that absolutely were horrified by what I was suggesting, saying, Lisa, someone of your caliber, you shouldn't be like this out there. This is all quackery. You're making it like more. I was so angry, and I was like, oh, I'm actually trying to give you something to help you.
But it works.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah. Like placebo and nocebo are even admitted in fake, real, but fake scientific. We know it works. I've done those experiments too, where I went to the flower shop. I bought they were like a quid for the dying flowers. My ex-wife, who I'm divorced from because she don't get this shit either, I brought home 1 pack of flowers for a quid that were on death's bed, put them in 2 bottles of water, wrote love and hate on stickers on 2, and set them on the table and did nothing else. Same flowers, same water. And the ones I wrote love on, they lived for 2.5 weeks, and the other ones were dead in 3 days. Now, I don't know if it was me writing love and putting intent, or if it's every time you looked at it, you saw love. Whatever happened, consciousness, it affected the water and the flowers.
Yeah, but do you know what? Something okay. If you, I actually did this experiment with. I was homeschool. I did a homeschool class last year, and I did the control. So I did it with rice. It's Masuramoto's experiment where you get the rice, you get cooked
Yeah.
rice, you put love on one, hate on another, and then you ignore the third one. And we put the
What's the
ignore,
third one? What's the, you just
you
nothing.
just totally ignore it, nothing. Put it away like in a cupboard and you totally ignore it. And what was fascinating for all of us, and obviously this isn't scientific, it was me and 7 14-year-olds, but they all went back and did it without fail. The one we all ignored went moldy, like by far rotted the quickest, followed by the one that had hate. And then the love one obviously was the best,
So
significantly
the
better.
one with no attention was even worse because you put no intent into it. Wow, I
Yeah,
didn't do that. Wow,
I
really?
know, and it was incredible, and it was literally like the how mold it went so much moldier. Like it wasn't even is this because to begin with the love and hate, it's like oh are they like different? The ignored one, and it was the same for all of us. It's incredible. Yeah, that is showing there's
So how do you
something.
explain that? Yeah. Now, again, so the problem is, I don't care if you're a naturopath, homeopath, allopath, or just a dickhead like me who's not even in any path. And I'm definitely not an empath. I'm sorry. Explain that shit to me, right? Either shut the fuck up or explain that shit to me. It lets you know that we are in a mind driven construct that isn't what we're taught that it is. And it's so important. Placebo and nocebo are real. We know it's real. So again, like cell salts, a lot of people rag on me because they're like, you're saying this is all physical. You're talking biochemistry, which we all know that's just physical. I'm like, no, I call it esoteric biochemistry. I'm not saying it's all physical. I'm saying it's a marriage of both. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that cell salts are the solution to all end all, but I'm saying like if your house falls down and you hire builders to come and build it and there's no bricks, I don't give a shit how spiritual you are. You can't build a house without bricks. Your builders aren't going to be like, I'm going to manifest a house. It doesn't work that way. So it's a marriage between the two. And your fields of medicine aren't taught about the spiritual, and the spiritual people think you can just nocebo and placebo your way out of everything. You can temporarily, but like Berlando said to me, if you don't have the bricks, it's not going to last. And we'll get into that. It's both.
that's so important. And yeah, if it's all right, you've got a presentation, haven't you, to slide to share? But that is just to reiterate that it's so important. And we call them as well maintaining causes, what Hahnemann said, the founder of homeopathy. And this is the issue that you have when people often go and see a homeopath and they want that magic pill to get everything better. And are you going to look at what actually in your lifestyle or what's going on that may have you to be in this place in the first place? That's where it's
Mhm.
like if there's toxic overload or like faulty nutrition or whatever, this is where tissue sorts are so great and come into their own. It's all
Yeah, yeah. And
together.
again, like with placebo, the magic pill might work for a while. If you believe the magic pill, it works, which lets Bruce Lipton said, I don't believe in cellular biology. I don't, where do you stand on cellular biology? Do you believe in
I
cell?
haven't gone down this rabbit hole because you know and it keeps coming up. It's something I need to go into, but I think this is what I love about homeopathy is that we are just looking at what is someone presenting with, what is their actual observable symptoms mentally,
Yeah.
physically, spiritually, and I'm prescribing on that. And I don't actually need to go into anything deeper. I don't need tests. I don't need to like look into, obviously you can have that just to back it up, but yeah, I can't. So I feel like I don't need to go down all these rabbit holes. But yeah, I do you want to share anything on that because it's calling me to start looking into it.
Harold Hillman, there's even Bruce Lipton. It really bummed me out when I started looking into Harold Hillman and Dr. Tom Cowan. When you find out cells and neural synapses, they don't exist. They're all hypothetical. You're like, fuck. Because I loved Bruce Lipton's books, The Biology of Belief, right? Now,
Yeah. I haven't read it. Do you know what? It's one of I can't
yeah,
believe I haven't read it. Maybe, yeah. I've
I'm going to
started to read
smoke,
it and
dude.
I
I'm going to show, I smoke. I'm going to show people you can be healthy as fucking smoke and drink and do everything you want. You're like,
I should have brought a glass of
yeah.
wine in with me, shouldn't I?
Yeah. So when we get into my presentation, the people that I'm going to be quoting were coming from a time where they believed in cellular biology. But what I'm saying is tissue, whether cells actually exist or dying tissue compartmentalizes in a test tube, in vitro, in a test tube, not in vivo in life. We can't study a cell in the human body because we don't have any instruments to do it. So we take some tissue, stick it in a test tube, in a petri dish or a test tube, and go, oh my God, there's all these cells. And you're like, you don't know that tissue isn't compartmentalizing into cells because it's dying. Because you can't study it in a living person. We can't do it in vivo. We just don't have technology. Either way, it doesn't matter. And there are problems when you get into cells with a nucleus and then the gas pressures that are supposed to be happening. And there's things like, oh yeah, this gets through, but this doesn't. And you're like, so an elephant walks through a door, but a mosquito can't get through the same door. It doesn't make sense. So I always call it tissue salts, not cell salts, because right, they call them cell salts, but cells are unproven. They're just hypothetical as well. It's another junk science. But either way, it works. And Bruce Lipton described it, and I like this. If a lion's chasing you, this is how Bruce Lipton put it. And then you go into fight and flight mode, and all these hormones kick off, and adrenaline, and all this shit happens. And then the only reason the cells in your body, or let's say tissue, the only reason your body knows to fucking run and all these chemical processes happen is because your brain said to. If your brain didn't, and your eyes didn't see the lion chasing you, and your brain didn't say to your body, run, that your cells or tissues have no idea there's a lion chasing you, they would do none of it. No adrenaline rush, no running, no lactic acid buildup, all of the trillions of things that happen. And you can't even describe it. If I asked you, how does it work, Lisa? Tell me exactly how it works when you run from a lion. You're like, I don't have a clue, Steve. My body just starts running, right? Even when you see it, right? You ever, like, even if you see a garden hose in the ground and then you look down and you think it's a snake and you jump real quick, tell me how you did that. You just did it.
Yeah.
You didn't think about it. You don't have a manual. That you weren't born with a manual saying, if you see a snake on the ground, like, it just happens. That's spirit versus physical, right? That's God. You don't know how your body even works. It just works, whether you know how it works or not, right? And that's what this is really all about, is these salts are about how does it work? And there's spirit involved. Because if I threw a ball at you right now and you caught it and I said, how'd you do that quick? Could you tell me?
Cool. Yeah, of course. Do you know what? It's crazy to me that people. I'll shut up in a minute and let you.
No, I know. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that people don't sense the greater spirit or creator or whatever you want to call it. I was thinking this only the other day. I was watching the leaves starting to fall off the trees from my lounge. I was like, every year, almost by clockwork, I can tell you that it's roughly on the 15th of August, my red hot pokers will come up. And a few weeks, 8 weeks later, the leaves will start falling. And I thought, how fucking amazing is that clockwork? Who's controlling all of this? Who's telling? And yet we take it for granted as humans, the seasons that nature does its thing. And and it's the same with the body in some ways. It's amazing. It's incredible. And we just go around humanity in our dead way, sort of not just appreciating the wonders around us, basically, without sounding really cheesy. But it is incredible, the world.
I think you're so dead on, Lisa, because I don't care if it's allopathic, homeopathic, naturopathic. That's what they're doing, is they're trying to tell you that your body isn't part of nature. You need external help to figure out like we talked about, the homeostasis. Your body knows how to do equilibrium. It knows how to heal itself. As long as it has the supplies and as long as it has the desire and the will. You've seen this before, where like an old married couple, and God bless them all, the one partner dies, and sure as shit, within 2 months, the other one dies. Of what? Heartache. Can you find a medical dictionary that has an actual scientific explanation for heartache, death from heartache? No, but they die. So it's like what was his name? It wasn't Harold Hillman. What was his name? T.C. Fry. He said, the body knows better than you do how to heal itself. just get the fuck out of its way and let it do its
Yeah.
job. Stop taking suppressants to suppress the fever and the diarrhea and the vomiting, which are getting the toxins out. Stop eating. The reason you're not hungry when you're sick is your body knows it needs to fast. Open the window. What's her name? The nurse, Florence Nightingale. Open the fucking window, get some fresh air in, get some sleep, get water, get rest, stop eating. Get out of the way and let nature do its job. We're taught that we need all these external physical forces to heal. No animals. You ever seen an animal hospital? Like, we're, you know what I mean? Have you ever? Where are sick animals?
Yeah. It's so true. And you know what? That is why like obviously homeopathy is amazing. And I can fill you in on, I don't know how much you use homeopathy, and it is incredible. And it really, the healing is can be almost instantaneous. I can share examples if you want, particular on certain things, but this is also why it's so like I think such a stepping stone and really important stepping stone that even people in natural health, alternative health, don't realize, because humanity is so programmed to needing a pill or needing to do something. And actually I think homeopathy and tissue salts, they're one of the few, possibly I'd say the only thing, or using Eileen McCusick's tuning forks, but that's a bit more extreme. It's one of the only things you can do that doesn't suppress at all, because it's just stimulating the vital force to self-heal. But parents, when they're first turning to remedies, or people, they don't realize that there's nothing in there, that it's just that there is that spiritual energetic imprint, but that there's no physical substance. So they're using it thinking, because it's in pill form, thinking, oh, I'm helping my child, rather than going to Calpol or Tylenol. I'll give them like ABC remedy instead, and then they see it works, and then they start looking into it, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't actually really give anything. It's not like even giving echinacea or some herbal supplement, because
Right.
it's homeopathic. So I think it's such an important step, because then once people look into it, they realize, oh shit, I don't actually really need to do anything. I can open the window, get more sunlight, start fast, and have more structured water. And I think it's so overlooked. But I think the pharmaceutical industry, I think they know this about homeopathy. And I'm going to forget her name. Is it Leslie Manukian? She runs the Health Freedom Defense Fund in the US. And she's quoted as saying homeopathy is the biggest threat to the pharmaceutical industry,
Massive,
because
yeah.
yeah, because of those reasons. And I think it's so overlooked, even amongst natural alternative health people. When COVID kicked off, I couldn't believe people weren't talking about homeopathy. I was like, this is like seriously like the holy grail of what we need to get people to wake up. But it is changing. And I think,
Yes.
segueing back to tissue salts, I think tissue salts even more so, because it's so much less overwhelming place to start, because there's the 12 core tissue salts. So people aren't like, oh shit, with homeopathy is like, how do I choose? Actually, with the tissue salts, it is relatively straightforward to
Well,
pick.
there's 27 in all
Well,
now, but still, in the old days, the 12 basic combinations could cover them. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is homeopathy is tissue salts. I don't care
mm,
if you take the plant right out of the garden or if you reduce the plant into a condensed form, it's the same shit. It's the plant, it's energy. It's all plant medicine does is restructures the energy spins in your body. And we'll get into that. If we stop looking at us as a walking meat suit and start looking at us as a bunch of toroidal fields spinning, and sometimes they get out of flux and out of spin and out of the wrong rotation, and then we don't have the energy to keep them spinning, you get disease. So homeopathy is cell salts. They are interchangeable. It's just that we live in a biochemical age where we're lucky enough that geniuses have figured out how to put them in a smaller form that you can put under your tongue. That's it. They're
yeah.
not actually talking about different things. And I get attacked by like homeopathy people, homeopaths, and I'm like, I'm talking about the same shit. I'm just saying you can only placebo yourself so far, and you can only plant medicine yourself so far. You have to balance the mind and the body together to give the energy to run your body. Your body doesn't run on luck. Disease is not a victim mentality. It's your body saying, hey, person, you're doing something wrong. Something's out of equilibrium, which is what homeopathy means, the equilibrium,
Yeah.
homeostasis. You're out of homeostasis with your surroundings. Why? And then
Yeah.
German new medicine comes in here, right? And we'll get into that later. But yeah.
Okay, shall I pass you over to screen share? Should we kick
All
off?
right.
Right.
Yeah, I'll try to do that.
Is
Yeah,
that all right? Or do you want anything else we should discuss before we
I
kick
think
off?
we just get into it, but this was my, okay, desktop. You'd think as a filmmaker, I'm better at the shit, but I'm just not. Can you see my desktop?
I can. It looks a bit like I'm sure there's some kind of. You're a Virgo as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I looked you up. You're a Virgo too, as well. We'll get into that. My desktop is as messy as my real desk. Luckily you can't see that, but hang on, hang on. I'm going to open this. Open
People
with.
think I'm really organized until they step into my car. That's where you can really get a sense of my inner psyche by coming into my car and seeing what a mess it is.
Virgos aren't organized at all, but we're very meticulous thinkers, and
Yeah, that's
that's why we're not organized. Is because we organize in the head.
absolutely.
We're so goddamn analytical. We can take a mess and say, "I know where that is." And if someone ever like anyone who lives with a Virgo, you move their thing, they're like, "Where'd you fucking put my thing?" And they're like, "Oh, it was in the wrong place." And you're like, "I know it was there," you know.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was my slideshow from Libra Poco, and I'll just blow through it. I've got to hit pause and start. So a lot, I didn't make any of this shit up. I'm talking about stuff that I've been learning for years and years from people like Dr. Schussler, George Washington Carey, and U.S. Perry. Some others we're going to get into. Really weird. Internet Archive went down recently. Did you know that?
No.
A lot of my books I keep on digital form on Internet Archive. It went down 2 days ago and hasn't come up. So I think
Oh.
that the controllers are doing a digital purge right now. Have you
Do you know
noticed?
what? I've always like my discussions with someone that does like card readings occasionally.
Yeah.
And obviously very intuitive, and she's always been saying, "Always get your books printed." It's fine, like it's fine because I've got books coming out of my ears. But I generally always, if I do get a digital book, I always try and buy the printed copy as well.
I've got this motherfucker right here. Yeah, because I've got all my books, but there are a few I keep on digital, and I'm really interested right now or worried because there's a few I just use digital because people write me a lot and say, "What about this?" And the good thing about digital is I can just do the search bar. I've got emphysema or I've got eczema or I've got this, that. So I can just screen print it, send it to them, and that's the end of that. So now all of a sudden, Internet Archive is down for 2 days, and I don't know if it's going to come up. And because I was going to show you stuff on it today, and it's gone. So anyway, this is a great book. What we're going to get into today is a little for especially doctors like yourself.
I'm not a doctor. In the UK, us homeopaths are we can be lay people. Like obviously we have to train to call ourselves homeopaths and have a license, but it's not like in some France or I think Spain, Germany, you have to be a medical doctor to study homeopathy. It's not like
But you
that.
are a medical doctor, right? Somebody has
No,
a medical problem, they come to you. What's a doctor's?
well,
Like, what are you then? A
yeah,
shaman?
well, I guess it's like trained. We're not doctors. But anyway, sorry. Like, I'm on a
Yeah.
tangent here. I don't.
Well,
Yeah, I don't.
aren't you a doctor? What's the difference between you and a doctor? Someone's sick, they come to you for help. They expect you to cure them. I guess the difference is you actually cure them and the doctors don't.
Yeah, I think it's doctor being a really allopathic term. Yeah, I get. Yeah, that's my limited thinking. I see as doctor as being an allopathic doctor generally.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have the same job. I'm sick. What's wrong with me? Heal
Yeah,
me.
actually, yeah, I guess that's the other thing. Doctors diagnose, don't they? Homeopaths will never ever diagnose ever. Like we don't actually like labels with they're redundant because we're treating you, not the label.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of physician heal thyself. I'm a musician and a filmmaker, and I'm just some dickhead, and I'm just some guy.
What's
Well,
that?
if I can learn this, then you can learn this. I'm not so smart that a doctor can't learn what I'm learning. It's just that they're medical. If a doctor goes to med school, their library is not the same as the other library. There's a special medical library in every university for doctors, and you will never find Antoine Béchamp, right? You're
Yeah.
not going to find these people in that medical library. They're not going to be there. They won't. And that's how they do it. They say, and you say, hang on, how much did you pay for med school? And they're like, oh, I paid whatever hundreds of thousands of pounds. And then they gave you like 15 books to read. And you're like, how come I can't read those same books? What
Yeah.
does it cost me to buy those 15 books? And definitely not 300,000 pounds.
Yeah.
How come you can understand those books and I can't? And that's what it means. Like, you have to stop watching Netflix. You can educate yourself. You can read the same books your doctors learned in med school. You can read them and understand them. It's going to take you a while to study the Latin and what they're meaning, but you guys get out of school too, and you don't understand half the shit you learned either, did you? You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? You know what I mean? So you can see this, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
No.
Dr. Berlando explained this to me in the talk that you saw. So what we're talking about is salt. So I don't want to get too alchemical, but fire or the sun is a male principle. It's a male principle. Air is a generative principle as well. And that condenses into water, which is a female principle, which condenses into salt, which is a female principle, receptive. So inorganic mineral tissue salts, that's what we're talking about. Your body is made of these 12 basic salts, and now we understand 27. But your body is earth, salt. That's it. And what salt is, like we're going to talk about, you can take a plant and you can alchemically reduce it and reduce it through alcohol and through reduction. You will end up with a salt that has the spiritual and vibrational essence of the plant it started with, but it won't be a plant anymore. It won't look like a fern or a cinnamon. It's just going to be a salt. That's it. Bear told me, stop talking about this so esoteric, Steve. Just talk about histology. So what happens is these things that are all around us, when you do this process, they break down into natrium compounds, which in our body, the natrium salts are the fluids and the tissues and the blood. So your body has fluids, blood, boogers, water, all that, tissues and blood. It has calcium. Oh, drink milk because it's good for your bones, right? Sure enough, calcium is your structural bones and connective tissues. Why is this tissue connected to this tissue? Because of calcium, right? That's it. You have your phosphorus, which comes from the Irish word Horus, which they say is Egyptian. That's another rabbit hole we won't go down to. Ancient Egypt didn't exist. It's all them hiding Irish druidic knowledge.
Oh, we'll have to do a spin-off on that.
We can
My
go
wish
there
list, they're not
later.
going to Egypt at Christmas. So yeah, I want to hear about this.
Yeah, that's all bullshit. Egypt, ancient Greece, that's all bullshit. But Horus is the sun, and the sun is electric, the moon is magnetic. So phosphorus or Horus compounds are, guess what? The sun is electric, and it's your nerves and electrical conductors are made up of the phosphorus compounds. And then, oh, sorry, something happened there. And then you have your ferrum, which is iron. Ferrum is iron. Now, what's going on here? You don't want iron fortified foods, as you know yourself. They're actually putting metal iron shavings in there. There's a difference between iron that your sword is made out of and ferrum phosphate, the mineral iron. And ferrum is iron, so it's a magnetic attractor. That's oxygen. That's why they say you have iron in your blood. Yeah, because when you breathe in oxygen, how does blood transport oxygen around your body? It's because your blood is made out of ferrum phosphate. It's got iron in there that attracts the oxygen to bring it around. All we're talking about here is really basic biology and chemistry, right?
Yeah.
I call it esoteric biochemistry, but we're just talking about regular shit. So what I talk about a lot is on the left, the 12 basic cell salts, which we're going to get into now. There are an additional 15 cell salts that have been discovered since the time of Dr. Schussler and George Washington Carey. But you can see, people can take a screenshot here if you want. You'll see that certain ones are for connective tissues, joints. There's your calcium, your bones, right? Sure enough, on the left, it's your bones and teeth, of course. Irons, you don't have an immune system. There's nothing to be immune from, but so I didn't write this right. Potassium, your mucus, and there's your nervous system, right? So you've got these energetic, these fluidic, and these structural compounds. That's it. Your body is energy, fluid, and electricity and structural. That's it. That's all you have. And you know that because try not drinking water for 10 days and see if you're alive. You need some fluids in your body. So here you can take a screenshot, and I'm not going to get into the 15 today because in the old days of Schussler and Carey, you could heal all ailments with the 12 basics. And I'm not even versed on the other ones. So I don't, maybe you
They're
are.
really hard to get hold of as well. You can get hold of the 12 really easily.
Yeah,
I have to say I haven't seen readily available the others.
you can order them. I get mine from a place called Helios in the UK. They're really good, this company.
Oh, Helios are amazing. So
Oh, you
Helios,
use them too, yeah.
they're just round. They're really near me. So Helios will sell, but you won't find them in the health food shops. You'll get the 12 core tissue salts. The rest of them you will have to get from a homeopathic pharmacy. But yeah, Helios are that's great. Yeah, they're amazing. Helios.
That's who I use. And we'll get into this shortly. There's some problems, like Highlands is a good brand I used to use. The problem is they titrate at 6 times, all of them. All 12, they titrate at 6 times. There are some of these salts, they need to be titrated at 12 times because of water intake, and they don't dissolve in water. So there are a couple of these salts where if you're taking a 6 times titration, your body won't absorb them. So you're basically paying money for bullshit. But we'll get into that. So anyway, your body is made of these, right? Now, this was my slideshow from Liber Pocal and Anarchy conference. But anarchy means no rulers, not no rules, no rulers, means self-governance. So again, the whole reason we're having this talk is because you are in charge of your health, not your doctor, not your homeopath, not your naturopath. There's no
Absolutely.
reason you can't learn this. It's great to have you, right?
I'm with you here completely, right? I don't see patients anymore because I focus on teaching people how to use homeopathy for themselves in the home and knowing what you should self-treat for anything acute, or with tissue salts, you can use it for chronic stuff, and when to see a homeopath. But I am so with you on this because I think if we knew how to actually treat common everyday acute illnesses, most chronic disease arises because we've suppressed stuff. And in previous generations, that's why we're seeing things like pandas in kids, and we're seeing this explosion. But generally, if we'd from day dot just naturally treated acute symptoms, we probably wouldn't have any chronic illness. So I'm totally and utterly with you on this, 1,000%.
Yeah, and as Amanda said, there does come a time where you're too far fucking fucked. You're gone. You need some. You need an expert to help you get back. Like you're just way beyond the point of repair until you need some serious people who know what they're talking about. And
Absolutely.
again, I'm not the guy. Please stop sending me emails. I'm not the guy you should come to. Go see Lisa. Go see Amanda. Go see some real people who know this. But it's like you said, it shouldn't get to this point if you knew this knowledge and if your doctors did. And again, iatrogenic death means your doctor killed you not because of malpractice, because they were a quack. They did exactly what their book said to do, exactly what the pharma reps trained them to do, exactly what their doctor training told them, and they killed you. And it's the number 3 cause of death in every Western country in the world. And I think it's number 1. Because when you take cancer and all the other 1 and 2, that's iatrogenic death. Chemotherapy, cancer doesn't kill you. Cancer treatment kills you. Do you agree with that?
Do you know what? I have to say, I was stunned when my heart goes out to people that aren't aware of all of this, because quite often it is these serious situations that are a wake-up call. And when I first found out that even in the conventional literature, I think the rates, what was I taught, that chemotherapy will improve your chances by 0.2% or something ridiculous. And that's what's like actually in the mainstream narrative. And I remember thinking, my God, this is just criminal that people don't know this knowledge. Yeah, cancer.
Chemotherapy has a 90% failure rate.
Yeah.
Imagine if you put a car out on the market that crashed 9 out of 10 times.
It's and what people don't know as well, like I'm not sure what it's like in other countries, but in the UK, under the Cancer Act, therapists have to be really careful about what they say, because it's illegal to treat, and only allopathic doctors are allowed to treat cancer. With homeopathy, we can say we can treat the individual with cancer and support them, because we're never in homeopathy treating the label or the disease or the problem. We're always treating the individual. But it's, you're suddenly on, from an insurance perspective, it's difficult. It's awful that in the UK, that under the Cancer Act, only allopaths are allowed to treat people with cancer.
Yeah, so you're like, so let's look at that. Out of a lawful act, allopaths who use a treatment that fails and kills you 9 out of 10 times are the only ones allowed to treat you, whereas naturopaths and homeopaths treat cancer all the time successfully. Yet it's illegal to listen to the ones who actually treat cancer, and you can only legally listen to the ones who kill you 9 out of 10 times with a fucking proven failed treatment. If you don't think the medical industry and your government are in bed together, you need to wake up. Because why would you, if your parachute doesn't open 9 out of 10 times, who do you want to pack your next parachute?
And it's shocking, actually. I'm on a very early podcast episode. She's amazing, Mickey Ettore. It's worth people listening, going back and listening. But she talks about her wake up journey when I think her baby was like 1 at the time when she had cancer, and she was looking at the treatment that was on offer and how they were like saying you need to feed like sugary stuff to get the energy up. And she put the, hang on a minute, I want to be like, and she said she was a young mum, she didn't know much about any of this, but intuitively she was like, I want to make her smoothies and give her these nourishing foods. And her daughter had a very low chance of survival, and thanks to the mum not listening and bringing in smoothies and doing all of this stuff, her daughter survived and is now in her teens, and she's super healthy. And even when she got to teenage years, she talks publicly about this, but her daughter, her cycles were like messed up, and they were told, oh, it's probably because of all the chemotherapy, she's gone into early menopause and she won't ever be able to have children. And she took her daughter to see a homeopath, and her cycles returned to normal and she had normal periods. I just think if things are left to the allopaths, I'm not criticizing everyone, because I'm sure not everyone goes into it at an individual level, like intentionally realizing this. What the quackery that's labeled as quackery can help, like really with deep healing, but it saddens me deeply.
It does, and it's really hard. I've got friends who have died, and that's what I'm saying. Like what you're saying, there's a mental and a physical level that need to be healed together. All the allopaths did, not the allopaths, but the homeopaths and the naturopaths did. They gave you cell salts. I'm not dissing German New Medicine at all. I understand that German New Medicine is saying the reason this cancer could have come is because you had an emotional detachment from this or that, your son, someone died, or there's a separation conflict. Fine. What I'm saying is, if you have the right cell salts, I'm going to show you, you won't get the cancer where the other one did, who had the same thing.
And Steve, I'm pleased you brought up German New Medicine, because I have touched on it on previous podcast episodes. And there's one thing I want to say, because I know that one episode previously really triggered and upset a lot of people about the view that one person I was interviewing had. And I think, and I'm not an expert, I'm just going to caveat with this, I'm not an expert in German New Medicine, but for what I have read certain books. They even say that it's not applicable all the time, because if someone has toxicity or toxic overload, so if you think of children who have childhood leukemia because they're living like near heavily glyphosated areas, actually if you're only like, I think we can get all like really uptight and on the bandwagon of German new medicine, actually, like these babies or children that are suffering, it might be because actually there's toxic overload. And this is where obviously things like tissue salts and diet and other things are really important. So to look at everything, not one thing in isolation.
Yes, because that's what I'm saying. I'm going to show you this. I don't give a fuck how toxic overloaded you are. If you have the cell salts that take care of toxicity, you can have them at all. And as you said, if German New Medicine claims it's all mental, right? Cancer is just mental. That's it. They're just the opposite of the physicalists. The
So
physical,
true, actually. Yeah, I've never thought of it
right?
like that. It's anything
Yeah.
in extreme is,
They're
yeah, it's
saying,
all
no,
bad.
it's all a fucking separation conflict. And you're like, how come the other three kids in daycare didn't get chicken pox when you six did? It's not. It's a circle, and we'll get into that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not all mental. It's not all physical. It's a marriage between them. And this is where they're, in my opinion, they're getting this wrong. Why, as you just said, shouldn't it apply to everyone? The scientific method said it should be repeatable. So how can German new medicine apply to some but not all of it? That can't be the answer. It can't. It has to apply to everybody or nobody, or else it's bullshit, right?
Mm.
And
Yep.
Tom Collin and I are on this page together. Now, should you listen to me? No, I'm going to lay my case for this in the next hour and something, and you decide yourself, right? Yeah, and we'll get into that. So here's a guy, Dr. Linus Pauling. You can find him on Quackopedia. As you said, it's all quacks, right? Whenever Wikipedia, who's run by the government medical control authority who work with the pharmaceutical, calls someone a quack, you need to listen to that quack because they don't attack, they don't attack the non-quacks, right? They're like, if someone's calling someone a quack, you better listen to that person and then make up your own mind. So what he said is you can trace every sickness, every disease, every ailment to a mineral, cell salt, or tissue salt deficiency. All of it, everything. So I'm sorry, German New Medicine, right? You can have that trauma. You can be traumatized the same as this person. How come they got cancer and you didn't? And you had the same trauma. Your son died and yours died, but you didn't each get testicular cancer. Stefan Lanka, who I love very much, saying, well, testicular cancer is because you lost a son. And he studied all these people in the clinic and they all lost a son. Yeah, but not every guy with testicular cancer lost a son. I went to high school with a guy, he didn't have a son. They called him Tim Etter, one nutty guy, because he had one of his testicles removed, which is, but he didn't have a son. He was 17 years old. So how do you explain him? So what I'm saying is this. Now, here's a guy, no one has this book. He was Dr. Charles Littlefield. He was an analytical chemist. And again, I'm not saying because chemistry is physical. So I get attacked by a lot of the spiritualists saying, you're taking this, you're Democritus, you're taking the spirit out of medicine. I'm saying, no, I'm not taking the spirit out. The cell salts, as we'll get into, balance the other energetic fields. I'm not taking the physical, I'm not taking the spiritual out. I'm saying you have to have both. You can't have one or the other, or it doesn't work. Homeopathy is a balance, a homeostasis between spiritual and physical. So I get attacked. People don't understand this, and I'm trying to do it. But anyway, he wrote a book, Man, Minerals, and Masters, published in 1935, banned, totally banned, and then somehow it got released in 95. He said the 12, which there are now 27, but at the time, mineral salts are, in a very real sense, the material basis, not spiritual, but they are. They link to them, of the organs and tissues of the body and are absolutely essential to their integrity of structure and functional activity. Meaning, again, you can't build a house full of bricks if you don't have bricks. So all he's saying is these 12 salts are the bricks that build your body. That's all he's saying. Your organs and tissues are built out of these bricks, and they are infused, which we'll get into later, with spirit. Now we're going to get into the metaphysical, but he's saying you can't infuse spirit into nothing. You have to have the bricks to infuse it in. And his experiments prove that Various tissue parts will rapidly disintegrate. Your tissue will disintegrate without these salts, without the absence of the proper proportion of these salts in the fluids. In other words, your tissue won't be tissue anymore if there are no tissue salts to make tissue, which is, it's pretty duh. Whereas the maintenance of this proportion ensures healthy growth and perpetual renewal of tissue. Meaning you don't have to die at 70, 80, 90, 100. You're only dying because you're deficient. Look at the Rolling Stones. You're a Virgo like me. You're the Virgo salt. You're Kelly Sulph. Kelly Sulph is the salt that produces the oils in the body. The odes of Horus, again, the sun, like poison loathes the oil. When you run out of Kelly Sulph, you become old and wrinkly like a raisin. Old vegans, 90-year-old women who look like they're 50. Because why? Because they're vegan, vegetarian, juicing all the time. They're getting these mineral salts, and they don't look like Mick Jagger at 80. They look like you at 80. They don't look like Mick Jagger at 80. Whereas the maintenance of this condones this. So he's saying these mineral salts are the physical basis of all healing. The physical basis, not the mental, not placebo, nocebo, the physical. Regardless of the school employed, in other words, German medicine, homeopathy, naturopathy, allopathy, whatever you think you're doing, if you don't have these fuckers in you, you can't permanently cure. You can temporarily cure, right? Which we all know. You can give someone plant medicine, but don't they come back? Have you ever had someone come back in 2 years with the same problem? They don't have these.
Yeah, I think those maintaining causes, lifestyle issues, toxicity. There's something I'm going to make a note. I don't want to interrupt this flow, but there's actually a scenario I want to talk you through it at the
Yeah,
end.
I want you. I don't want to be just sitting around. Yeah, please, let's talk.
It's on my mind, okay, because this is where I think things are so interesting, where with certain cures. So I'll give you this example. It's personal. So earlier this year, I was really ill. I had a really horrific UTI. And I was convinced that I could treat it myself with homeopathy. My husband was making these lovely herbal teas out the garden, and I was using my homeopathic remedies that I thought would work. And then I was like, oh no, tissue salt. I was using tissue salts along with them, thinking they will do it. I'd written my tissue salt book at that time, actually. Nothing was helping, and I was in bed for literally, like, by day 4 or 5 I was like crying, thinking actually it was a nice dose of reality for how people are when they're suffering. So I was like, I'll take anything. Give me anything.
What's UTI? Tell me what UTI is. I'm not.
Oh, urine infection, like a bladder infection.
You're not infected. You're detoxing.
Yes. So after day 5,
Urinary infection. I got
tract
you.
infection. Yeah. So after day 5, I was like crying, thinking I can't bear this anymore. Like, I'm in agony. And in the end, I don't know why I haven't thought it before. I thought, I'll text my homeopath, because I was so convinced it's easy. Normally for me, UTIs, bladder. I'm using allopathic language here, labels, but those kind of symptoms are easy to treat. So I couldn't work out why nothing was working. So in the end, I was like, oh yeah, why didn't I think earlier to get on the phone to my homeopath? And he was like, Lisa, what was going on? That's the thing. What was going on around the time that you got sick? And I was like, nothing. I can't think of anything like that would trigger this. And then I was like, yes, I can. And this is the thing. When you're ill, you can't. It's bizarre how we can't often see these things. And I was like, yes, something did happen. I choked. I had a near-death experience a day before. Like,
did you? Yeah.
I was in a restaurant and I choked, and I was really scared and really thought in that minute, my God, I'm going to die. And no one knows, because my friend can't even tell I'm choking because I can't even make a noise. I didn't have any remedies at that time to take in that moment. And I remember thinking, God, I wish I had like aconite or something to help me with the shock. But anyway, I was like, oh shit, yeah. I really felt like I was going to die in that moment. And he was like, take Ignatia. Like, when he took all my symptoms and properly repertorized it, which is what we call taking a homeopathic case, Ignatia came up. Now, this is never a remedy that you would think of for those symptoms. It doesn't really have an affinity to that. But the biggest keynote of it is it's ailments from fright or shock or grief.
Yes.
And it's serious. So within a second, bearing in mind, if it was to do with the placebo or nocebo effect, all the other remedies I'd tried would have worked, because I was convinced that the other remedies I was trying were going to work, and they'd work for a minute and then they would just stop working. They wouldn't hold. And I couldn't, for whatever reason, get the tissue, was taking tissue salts, but again, nothing was working. As soon as I took this bloody remedy after 5 days, it just went like that. I was like, my God, the magic. And this is
What
where
was the remedy? What did you take?
it was Ignatia. It's a grief remedy, but it's for,
I don't know what it is. What is it?
it's made out of, just want to check the name of the plant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's made out of,
People, even your doctors need to look this shit up. We can't possibly know all this.
yeah, it's an Ignatius bean. It's Strychnos ignatus, Strychnos multiflora, or Faber indica. It's made from the
That's
seeds of the
indica.
plant.
Yeah, indica. Yeah, all right.
Strychnos ignatus. Yeah, plant is native to the Philippines and other South Asian countries.
Yeah.
It contains a larger proportion of strychnine than those of Nux vomica, which is in the same family. So
Yeah, strychnine. Yeah,
that's
it's
what's
also. Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah, that's what sorted it. And I find it, and I'm just thinking as we're talking, like always, like just sense checking to my own sort of personal experiences. I still find things like that quite profound, because it's like quite often it's so much more than just the mental or like placebo effect, because all the remedies I tried before didn't work. Why didn't the tissue salts work at that time? I don't know. Maybe the mental shock was probably so strong that I needed a remedy to clear that mental shock, which had shifted me into that state. That's probably that is probably just my summary of why that had happened and why the other stuff didn't seem to work. Perhaps the
That's
energy.
like Bruce Lipton, because you thought you were dying, right? Your mind, your body, your tissues, cells, I won't call them, but you thought you were dying. The only reason your body thought it was dying is because you thought you were dying. You were choking to death. The only
Yeah,
reason your cells or tissues thought it choked to death is because you told it, because you thought so. If you
yeah,
didn't think you were choking to death, you would have said, "Oh, I'm just choking. Somebody's going to save me." None of all these biochemical processes would happen. Nothing would have
yeah,
changed in your body, right? You told it that it happened, and you told your body that it damaged itself, and then you needed that. If your spirit tells your body it's dying, then
yeah,
your body's okay. I guess we have no more home for the spirit. See, you did that.
yeah, yeah. And it's true. And actually, I needed that homeopathic remedy to clear that energetic shock imprint. But yeah, so
You
I'm going off on a tangent and interrupting you, and
No,
this is where I was
yeah,
going
it's
to leave
great.
it.
No, because that's what I'm saying. It's not about cell salts and it's not about belief. It's the marriage.
Mm,
You can
yeah,
take all the cell salts you want too. If you still believe you're going to die, you can be cell salt efficient all the fuck you want till the end of eternity. You will kill yourself, even if your body is running perfectly. We know this.
yeah, yeah. Is
We
it?
know
Isn't
this is not, you told yourself that was happening. So, again, if you want to heal, you have to have the building blocks. But even if you have them, if your mind doesn't want to be in your body anymore, it'll die for no reason. We've
it?
seen
Is.
it before.
Yeah, and you've just said that and that is it, isn't it? It's that bloody balance. We can become so polarized, thinking, "Oh, it's just this," or "It's just that," and
Yeah.
actually, it's everything.
Yeah, because the guy I talked about, the wife or the man whose wife died and they've been together for 70 years and they die of a heartbreak, their body was biochemically perfect. It was running fine on Tuesday. There was nothing wrong. He was living fine Tuesday after his wife died, or husband. How come he died on Wednesday?
I often think this, you know what, and this is a really sad story, but when I was in my early 20s, my friend, he passed away when he was 26, and he had been saying for years that he had something wrong with him, and he'd been going in and out of the doctors, and the doctors couldn't find anything wrong with him, saying he's a hypochondriac. And then he had a really bad episode, and his mum like took him to A&E, and they did some tests, and that night they said that he had cancer everywhere, and he died the next morning.
But
I remember thinking, yeah, how this, it was so awful, like it was so sad. And I remember thinking then, I was like, how has he gone for years with these symptoms? He obviously had been on, had these physical issues for a long time, and then as soon as the doctor gave him that diagnosis, within like less than 24 hours he was dead. And it really shook me to my core. That's how powerful being told something is by the
it is,
doctor.
because in Sweden now it's illegal. A doctor can't give you a death sentence in Sweden, right next door to
Oh,
us.
really?
It's illegal because they figured this out. They did studies in Sweden. They found out when a doctor gave you 5 months to live, you died literally within 1 or 2 days on either side of exactly 5 months. They did studies on this here. They know it. They know nocebo and placebo. You're not allowed to tell someone they're dying anymore in Sweden. It's against the law.
No, like that. See, that was stuff like that. I think this is mainstream information. Why do people not more aware of that? That
It
might,
is in Sweden, but it's not because the medical pharmaceutical industry is trying to sell you drugs and shit. Yeah.
well, yeah,
They
and
know
that's
that.
why. Oh,
Yeah.
rhetorical question, but yeah,
Yeah, you can kill yourself by believing your doctor's That's why I tell people, like, I think TC Fry said the same. If you want to stay healthy, don't go to the doctor. I was just joking with my friend. I smoke. I probably had lung cancer about 50 times by now. Probably. I'm not going to die from it because no one's told me I'm going to die from it. I just clear out the cancer with the cell salts. And I do fasting. We'll get into what fasting is. My friend Adam Bigelson, he doesn't believe in fasting, and neither did Carrie. For me, it worked. I even healed a disease. We can maybe get into that later. I believe in fasting, but some don't. But anyway, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where people get confused is they want to draw a line. It's mental or physical. And I'm saying it's the same. And we'll get into that. So
yeah,
as
good.
he's saying,
Glad we clarified that very early. Sorry, I'm going to shut up because they're going to drag this on for hours, and I need to be respectful of your time. So,
I have time. So if you want to go for hours, it's up to you how long your podcast. If I think we should go, let's go. So that brings us into our next slide. So we have the argument in all the medical fields on this slide here. It's epigenetics. It's voltage electric, right? It's Jerry Tennant said it's all electrical. Your body's electrical. It's structured water. Vita Austin, Emoto. It's German new medicine, esoteric biochemistry, nocebo, placebo, homeopathy, right? Why I drew a circle here is I'm saying what I'm saying. It's not one thing on a circle. A circle is connected. It's all things. They're all right. Acupuncturists are correct. German new medicine people are correct. Biochemists are correct. Nocebo, placebo, they're correct. It's all of it together, and all of our fields are arguing, right? Don't you see a fight in the medical industry? The homeopaths are fighting the allopaths, and they're fighting the acupuncturists. Oh, fuck you, acupuncture is bullshit. They're all right. Do you see it?
homeopaths love acupuncturists and Vedas. We love all of this.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? There's a mind's the way to heal you. No, mind, that's not what's causing illness. It's this, it's that. They're all saying, they're all like the witch doctor. I know what's wrong with you, and I'm the only way you can get healed. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit. It's understanding all of this and then working at it, which is what you guys are doing. You come at, go see a psychiatrist. If because your ex-wife really was a fucking bitch and she made your life so hell that you had negative thoughts all the time and all you could think about is killing her in the garage with gas or whatever, like you're not going to be healthy like that. You can't walk around like that. I don't care how many cell salts are in your body. It's not cell salts, it's not voltage, it's everything. Holistic medicine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I think Dr. Vernon Coleman said this in one of his. Don't know if you know who he is. I got his books. I'm not sure what I think of him particularly now, but like during the beginning of lockdowns, I bought all of his books. The Old Man in the Chair, and he said there are no holistic doctors, but there are holistic patients, and I thought that was quite a good way
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
saying.
Verno was a germ theory guy, and I'm totally me. I'm not germ theory, but
I haven't listened to him for years. I didn't realize that actually. I haven't listened to him for
Yeah,
so long.
he was totally believed in the viral BS. Yeah, again, so what I'm saying is, and all I'm doing here is I'm here to talk about a physical and mental connector of these. But I'm not saying that cell salts are the end all. As you saw, they didn't work for you.
Yeah, no, and I love your integrated approach. It is so true. It is everything is connected.
Yeah, they're
Like you said.
connected,
Mm.
but you're sick because you're not connected.
Mm.
To everything. That's what's going on. So do you know Lisa Renee?
The name rings a bell, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to quote real quick. I will blow through these, but so this shit has been known since the ancients in Ireland, the mystery of schools. But what's more important is what they're calling cell salts. I call them tissue salts. It's spiritual initiation into the hierogamic union. Hieros or gamos means the integration of spirit and physical. That's what I'm here to talk about, which allows higher frequencies. So we'll get into this. You're not physical, you're not astral, you're not mental, and you're not all the etheric planes in between. You're multidimensional at one time. And the only reason you have a physical body right now and you're not a rock or a banana is because a rock has also other ones, but you are a combination of all these, what you might call dimensions of frequencies condensed into what you're experiencing as a physical being walking around. And these self salts are what bring it all together. And it's the nourishing of the cells. Like, don't eat for 150 days and see if you're alive. Like, you need minerals, and you get them from the food and the air and the water. That's where you get them from, and you get them from breathing. So you need these to transmute your tissue and to heal itself, because we are electrical beings. All this is doing is creating spin, electrical spin, at certain speeds and certain forces and certain directions. That's it. So these cell salts, I won't get into too much of these. All they're doing is they are the physical resonators, meaning when you pluck a guitar string in room A, an E string in the guitar in room B, even though there's two doors shut between, it will start vibrating. Resonance. This is Eileen McCusack with the tuning forks. What is Eileen McCusack doing? She's striking a chord that your body has, and your body's not spinning in the right frequency, and it resonates and puts it back in tune. Eileen McCusack is tuning your body because your mind and your lifestyle and your thing has put the vibration out of tune. And she's tuning.
I love Eileen's work, and I think I've never read anyone's book that resonates so much with how I feel about health. She was obviously talking about it from the tuning fork perspective and body electric health, but I was like, my God, you could substitute certain words for homeopathy, and I was like, she's saying the same thing that we're saying.
Yeah.
It's incredible, her work.
And salts are electrical conductors. Your body's made out of cell salts or tissue salts because you're an electric body, and the conductors for the electricity are salt. You can't conduct electricity through fresh water. You need salt water. Electricity doesn't flow through fresh water. It flows through salt water. And so it makes sense your body is made out of salt and water. And that's what these are. What salt? These salts. That right, exactly. So she's talking about the same shit we're doing. You can either heal it with a plant, which has the same. That's what I'm saying. Eileen McCusack's tuning fork is no different than the plant medicine you prescribe.
That's exactly what I think. I'm glad someone else has just said that for the record, because I've been saying that and thinking that since I first came across her work. And even to the point where we were talking about miasms, which is like family and ancestral trauma, that she can feel it trapped where it is. And as homeopaths, we can see where it is based on symptoms and give remedies to going on that. I thought it's amazing.
It's the same trauma. Yeah, exactly. The mental trauma is giving this. When you hit a tuning fork and it goes, boo, it's the same as when your mind thinks, oh, look at this fucking bitch, man. I can't stand her. You know, like your mind's going, boo, on the same shit. It's the same thing. And when you eat a plant, it's giving the same boo.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. She's using a tuning fork. You're using a plant. A psychiatrist is using a mental tuner, right? It's the same shit. It's the same shit. But what is it in the body that's receiving the frequency from the tuning fork and from your plant and from the psychiatrist? What is it in the body that's resonating with that frequency? The salts. It's the salts that are receiving the message from the tuning fork, right? So here's one, Margaret Roberts. Every cell has a spiral vortex, or tissue, we'll call it. Every organ has one. If it's repaired, if the spiral vortex is repaired from a tuning fork or a plant or a psychiatrist in the mind setting it out, and rebalanced, which is homeopathy, homeostasis, a state of equilibrium, rebalancing, then the organ can self-heal and self-correct. which is what homeostasis means, a state of equilibrium maintained by a self-regulating process. Just like the aura supports the health, the spiral vortices do too. The etheric body outside of our physical body is the first layer of the aura, closest to the physical body, and is the template that's making the physical body. So, in order for the physical body to heal, you have to heal the etheric. That's what Eileen's doing. That's what your plants are doing. That's what the psychiatrist is doing. Cell salts work at the etheric level. They have a subtle but very high vibration, right?
Mhm.
Is this making sense to you?
Yeah, no, totally. Love that.
I keep telling people, you need to stop thinking of your body as how you and I look on Zoom right now. Look at us too. We look like a bunch of meat suits. This is what we really look like.
Yeah.
It's just that our eyes don't perceive the energy like a dog can hear a dog whistle and we can't. Our eyes don't see these fields around us, but they're there. They are there. So we need to stop thinking of our body as a meat suit and start thinking of them like this. And this is what Eileen McCusick's forks are doing and your plant medicine are doing. They're changing those fields around you, right? To create spin and stuff. So that we're energy. Yeah, so these are what cell salts look like. And we'll get into this because I noticed that all these, I used to do Highlands before I went to Helios, but I noticed that all of them were 6 times trituration. And so some of them are bogus because, so here we go. Cell salts are natural potentized mineral remedies. When a homeopathic remedy is potentized above the 12th potency, meaning how many times did they reduce it from a plant to a salt, like alchemy, right? Make it liquor. There are no more material particles left in it. This is really important. So with alcohol, they get all the spirit out. They call them spirits. So you can potatoes, you can make vodka out of potatoes or whatever. There are no potatoes floating around in your vodka. It's totally potentized. But with cell salts, they leave a little bit of potato in there. Let's just call it that. It's important to them that they have the essence and the spirit of potato, but that there's still some potato left in there. Whereas in vodka or whatever you're making, there's only the salt left. There's only spirit. That's it. But again, spirit is called spirit. And a lot of people go, oh, you shouldn't drink alcohol because it's called spirits because the gin are getting into you. No, it's the fucking pure spirit of a potato coming into your head. It's got nothing to do with the gin or the genies or any of that shit. You have pure spirit of what the potato started out as. No potato left. And there people are like, oh, you're it's like, get out of here. So only the energy substance it was made from is left, is present. A potato has an energy. A grape has an energy. All your plant medicine has an energy. If there's an energy, that's what you're healing with. You're not healing with a plant. You're healing with the plant's essence, energy, because you are energy. Your plant is energy. Everything is energy, right? So the salts are usually made in the 6th potency, which means how many times they reduced it. Some of them are 12 times because they have to be indissoluble in water or dissoluble in water. That's why people say to me, I'm lactose intolerant. How come these salts are made with lactose and sugar? And you're like, because your mucous membranes will take up lactose. So you put them under your tongue and they go right into your bloodstream. You don't eat cell salts, you dissolve them into your tongue. And there are some of them, there are 3 of them that don't go in. They won't go in because they're not water soluble. They need to be made at 12 times. And that's the 3 at the bottom. If I were to order these individually, I would get calcium fluoride, iron, phos, and silica at 12, and I would get the rest at 6. So this next chart is now, this is not tropical. This is based on the other astrology, but there was King George V on the top right. He had a lot of medical conditions and nobody could heal him. And then Dr. Dodds, they got from the London College of Medicine, came in. The problem was he was missing calcium phosphate, which is Capricorn, which you can get from. Now, this shows you the foods you can get these from. You don't need cell salts, they come from your food. But if your digestion is so bad that you can't assimilate the minerals anymore. This is what happened to King George. You can eat all the beans, beets, carrots, peanuts, milk, and cheese and avocados you want. He's already so badly off that he can't assimilate them. That's why we're lucky we live in a biochemical age where you can get these cell salts and put them under your tongue. And this Dodds cured this king in 3 weeks with the
Yeah.
cell salts, which is that's calcium phosphate, knees, joints, bones, teeth, digestion. So we're really lucky we're in an age where they make these things. I
Yeah.
can't believe under Codex Alimentarius that we still have them. You know how the elites are like, they want us all dead. I can't believe we can still get them.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because King Charles is the patron of the Faculty of Homeopathy, and he's the Ainsworth Pharmacy, which is very similar to Helios, but it's in London as well. One of the big London homeopathic pharmacies has got the royal warrant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So again, like if you want to take a screenshot, people watching of this, you get these through food. Now, the other problem we have is our we don't farm like we used to. They plow up all the minerals are coming up from the dead animals and bugs and things under the ground into the stalk of the food. And then you would take the food off the thing. In the old days, they would let the stalks die right there in the field and return the minerals back down. But now a harvester comes through, tills the land, ruins everything underneath, takes the stalks and the thing to the barn. They take off the food or the corn or whatever they're taking, and then they don't put the stalks back out in the field. They use fertilizer. All the Dutch farmers like, oh, you've taken away our natrium. In the old days, you just let the shit drop there and the minerals will come back up and do it. But they don't do that. The problem is our food is, which is this chart shows, it doesn't have the minerals anymore. Sidereal is what I was talking about. Yeah. So the food doesn't have the minerals anymore because of the way they factory farm. So you can eat all these foods you want. Steve said, well, you can get ferrum phosphate through grapes. It depends where you're getting your grapes from. If you got them in your yard, it'll have it. If you got it from a factory farm who's not returning the grape stalks back to the ground, there won't be any in there. And that's the problem we're having, which is why, again, I say we're lucky we're in a biochemical age where you can put these under your tongue and get them, right? I don't want to dwell on this because we're going to go like 20 hours. But yeah. I won't even get into the carbon, but yeah, let's get into it. So matter that does not include carbon, which we call inorganic matter. So organic is carbon, that's us, we're alive. Anything that doesn't have carbon, which is salt, that is essential to the optimization of human physical body functions are these salts. So a deficiency in any of these lead to what they call weakened cell structure, which I'll call tissue, ill health, and lowered immunity, which there's no immunity. It's nothing to be immune from, except poison, which we'll get into. That's Virgo, because you're a Virgo too. So we suffer poisoning. When the mineral salt deficiency is corrected, your tissue functions normally and your health is strengthened, right? So when you put all these together, they call it bioplasma. We're plasmic beings. And I won't go into more of that. I'm going to blow through this real quick. This is why I told you my damn presentation went more than that. All right. So this from George Washington Carey in that book, Zodiac. So air is the raw material for blood. Our blood is made out of air. Iron in the blood draws in the oxygen. When it's drawn in or breathed in, rather, the infinite alchemist to our blood vessels, the air unites with the philosopher's stone. So I don't know if you get into alchemy. Do you get into alchemy at all?
Do you know what? I'm so focused on homeopathy as a generator. I tend to be like one track minded. So no, I haven't.
So the alchemists are looking for this thing they call the rubedo, the reddening. They're looking for the secret, the elixir to eternal life. And somehow it ends up red. They don't know what it is. They've been trying to turn lead into gold, this and that, right? George Carey and Inez Perry said the philosopher's stone is the mineral salts, and in the human body, the laboratory creates blood, the reddening rubedo, the red thing. The philosopher's stones are looking for eternal life. So the blood is the after product of the air infusing into the fucking blood in these salts, inorganic salts, making cut your wrist and see how long you live. How are you alive? Blood.
Yeah.
There's not a living thing that doesn't have a sap or a blood, right?
Yeah.
And then here they say the basis of all fibrin is kali myrrh, but as there are, which is one of the salts, there are many uses for it. The fibers are differentiated by the addition of other minerals. So it's not just one mineral makes up your body and the others make up the other. It's that they combine with the air too as well, right? And make these inorganic salts. When they're put together like bricks with the protoplasm formed by the cerebrum, which we'll get into the Christos, then they become organic. So these salts go from non-organic, meaning non-living, when they combine with protoplasm and the air and combine, they become living. So why is a rock and you're not? Because you have a function in your body that can combine these minerals, whereas a rock doesn't. They're just that, right? Which
Yeah.
means put together with brick and mortar. So that's why we're walking around and not. And I just call these salts chicken wire for like, how come you're not a banana? Well, these salts are the chicken wire on the left, and then they combine with the air and the protoplasm and they make you on the right. It's that easy. It's very easy. I won't get into that. This is all in the Bible, and we'll get that. So, angles of planets cause and affect these influences on us. This is astrology.
Oh,
So,
I love the way you talk about all the astrology and the tissue
mm,
sorts. Yeah.
yeah, so I talked to Dr. Lydia De Leon and her husband Arturo at Liverpoco. Lydia said, I've got, she saw my talk and she said, I've got a study from 100 years ago that shows when the planets align in a certain way, they block certain radio frequencies. And I said,
Ah,
do you think that means when they're aligned in other ways, they enhance certain frequencies? And she said, yeah. So we're going to talk about that next week. So the priesthoods of the Middle Ages wanted to control the ignorant masses. They personified the influence of astrology, planetary aspects, or positions or angles of these things that are resonating with the salts in our body, and just respelled it so it said angels. So everyone believes in angels. They're just talking about angles of electricity that resonate with the salts in our body, right? So they turned a science into a bogus belief system. The angles or angels of the 12 zodiac signs materialize their vitalities inside our body through the salts. That's why there are 12 salts in science. And through chemistry and energy creating, the intelligent molecules of divine substance make the word flesh. In the beginning, there was the word of God. We're walking around because these minerals condense in our body and have electrical spin and influence from the sun, the moon, and the 5 planets. That's what we are. We are that. All right. These are the esoteric teachings I'll blow through. So the term angle or angel of the sun may be used. This is why in astrology they put so much weight on your sun at birth. Of course, our charts have all the other influences, but the main thing is to say, what is your sun sign? And it's because the position of the sun at your birth controls the vibration of your blood, which is what you are. With no blood, you aren't alive. So the brain is a receiver operated on by the celestial influences or angles of the sun, moon, and the planets, and has to operate according to the directing force or intelligence of the power or these radio waves. That's why Virgos are like we are. Now, you can be a little different, right? You and I are Virgos, but we have differences because of the moon and the other things at the birth. But in there's an overall like Virgos are like this, kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. 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 And it's because we've been deficient in understanding. Sorry. Because we're not vibrating to this. So what they call the gray matter of the brain, the unused brain, it's not attuned to the sun anymore because of our teachings. So they call that sin or falling short of understanding. Right? So we understand like astrology, but we're told astrology is bullshit. It is affecting you. It is totally affecting you because when you and I were born, the sun was at an angle that makes us like us, and it wasn't there. Now, other people who are into the other astrology will say, oh, yeah, but the stars have changed now. The sun in Virgo, we're actually Scorpios now, or Libras or whatever, right? They'll say, when you look up in the sky in this time of the year, we're not actually Virgos anymore. And you're like, yeah, but this thing it's a map from when they built the science. In other words, I don't know how to put this, but there's an energy on what we call March 21st that we call spring.
Yeah.
There's an energy in spring, right? I don't give a shit, sidereal astrology or what. I don't care what constellation in the stars behind the sun on March 21st. The energy is the same. The crops will still grow on March 21st, right? Whether Aries is sitting there or Pisces or Taurus, it doesn't matter, or Libra for that matter. I don't care what constellation in the sky at sunrise. The energy of March 21st, what we call that, will always be that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you understand?
Yeah, exactly.
Sidereal people are saying, oh, you're not a Virgo anymore. You're like, I am a Virgo. Because there are books where you can read, you can look at people's faces. Leos have cat looking eyes close together. You can go all around. You can look at every star sign. Sagittarius look like Greek statues with long noses. It's all the same. Virgos, men go bald with a pot belly. That's never going to change. I don't give a shit what constellation, right? There's an energy. And so this zodiac was made as just a map. It's not what is you see in the sky. It's when they made this science, that's what they saw in the sky. So they made it around that. And that's where people get this wrong. That's the fight between sidereal astrology and astrology, is they don't understand tropical astrology is not talking about what you see. It's talking about the energy of the year at what our calendar calls this date. We can rename the calendar right now and rename it all. The energy crops aren't going to start growing in the winter because you rename the calendar. They're always going to grow on what we call March 21st, whatever you call that. So that's what's going on here is this science is based on a 12 wave energy structure. So what these people are saying is when we know a deficiency in the cell salts of the blood causes symptoms that we call medical ignorance has called medical Latin names that no one knows the meaning of, we'll know how to heal ourselves scientifically through chemistry, right? So not quarantine, disinfectants, board of health, fasting. I actually think fasting works, but right. So as Amanda said in that talk that you saw with us in Berlando, as Amanda said, if you came into your doctor and your doctor knew this science, they would say, what's your birthday? They would just have their secretary pull up your birthday. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's nuts, isn't it? Like when medical astrology is something else as well. I'm thinking, why don't imagine if one day a future of health where all of this is integrated? Be incredible.
If it happened, but they won't teach this to anyone. I think we're going to run long. See, this is why I tried to do this in 50 minutes. It's not going to work. Yeah. But I don't know. Do you want to get into the Zodiac or?
Do you know what? I think it'd be really good to just, if you've got time to just spend, I don't know, even just 5 minutes on the Zodiac, like just briefly, like letting people even being aware of it, because I find this so scarily accurate. In actual fact, my youngest daughter, she is so full of snot and she's been just full of like detox symptoms, but like really snotty and congested for the last few weeks. And I suddenly thought, I put her on Cali Muir today. I don't know why, because I go to homeopathy as the first on, and I thought, oh, like actually to put her on the tissue sorts Cali Muir, and then I was like, shit, she's Gemini. Like, why didn't I? Oh, glaringly obvious.
And that's your
Yeah,
lungs. Yeah, that's your lungs and pleural glands. Yeah, yeah. I'm a Virgo. I'm mucousy as fuck. Are you
yeah.
mucousy as well?
God, yeah. I get skin issues. I do get skin issues, which I know Cali Sulf is also good for skin. But yeah, I do definitely. And it is, yeah, it's just bizarre. Like, I can go to any family member here, knowing like them, like as well as I do, their health issues, and it's absolutely spot on, like scarily spot on. Um,
It is,
yeah, my
and that's what I'm saying. So for sidereal astrologists, I'm not knocking your astrology. What I'm saying is this is just a blueprint, right? It doesn't, I don't care if you really, if Virgo was in the sky when you were born or a Libra, you're suffering Virgo symptoms. Like you said, you're probably having dry skin. Brandon Thomas, I just did his podcast a couple of times. Virgos are really susceptible to food poisoning because the Virgo oil, Kali sulf, is the poison neutralizer. The Odes of Horus
mm,
says poison loathes the oil. So Kali sulf makes the oils that neutralize poison. He used to get, if he touched poison ivy plants in the garden, he had to get, is it cortisone or cortisol? What do they give you for
yeah, cortisone, isn't it? Or yeah,
cortisone?
cortisone.
Or cortisol, yeah. So he used to get that. So he saw my podcast. He got some poison ivy. He went and just got fucking Kelly Sullivan, just sprayed it down there. It's gone. 2 days, gone. And I talked to him. He's holy fuck, man. I used to need injections of this cortisol. Like, yeah, it's gone. And it's the same. If there's 12 people are at a party and there's some bad shrimp or some bad whatever poisonous food, you can bet it's the Virgos and the people born just before, which I'll show how this works. They're the ones who got food poisoning. How come all 15 people who ate all that shrimp buffet didn't get poisoning? It's the fucking Virgos and the ones born before them. God, I can guarantee you, I guarantee you they did. And we don't.
It's so true. It's so. Can you explain this? Because it is fascinating, and I had never. Obviously, I'd heard about this, the tissue sorts and the affinity to the zodiac sign. No one had ever explained it in a way that made me think of like why it might actually occur until I listened to you and on the
Yeah,
end of COVID, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. Like I get it, but I hadn't until then because I've never had it explained. So
yeah. So, because at your birth, the sun's angle, the angles of the angels, the angle of the planet, the sun, moon, and the five wandering planets, which are suns themselves, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, right? They're little suns. And I'm not going to get into the Earth cosmology. That's none of my business. But if you think we live on a spinning globe flying around space, you're not going to get this science. But if you understand where you really live, the ancients knew this and they drew our body around in the sky and they made all the zodiac. The constellation Leo doesn't look like a lion. It's a stick figure of a rocking horse. Like you're gonna, you know, there's a reason they called it the lion and Aries the ram. So on this picture, you'll see the man drawn around the middle, right? And then you'll see the zodiac signs Aries on the left here where my mouse. Can you see my mouse?
yeah.
It's pointing to his head. Aries is the cerebraham, the ram of God, the lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. He's got that ram horn as his astrological glyph, right? He's your cerebrum, as you can see here, spinal cord, sensory nerves. When a fetus is in the womb, the first thing that happens is a brain and a spinal cord, and then everything grows off it. So that's God. That's the ram of God, the lamb of God, the creator, Abraham, Brahma. All is Brahma. He's the creator. You're like, yeah, that's your body wouldn't be here without that. Then it goes around the wheel. This wheel's upside down. Taurus is your cerebellum, bullum. Taurus, the bull. It's your cerebellum. It's your motor nerves, right? It's your liver, your neck, gallbladder, cerebellum. And that's another salt that creates that Gemini, the two twins, Michelangelo's or Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper. You got Aries sitting on the left of the table. It's backwards there. Aries on the left of the table, Taurus second. Gemini has his two hands up in the Last Supper painting. He's showing you it's your hands, your lungs, your pleural glands, your two shoulders, and your two arms. The twins, Castor and Pollux. Two, 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 two. It's just your body going down the chakral centers. Gemini is that's the lungs, that's the twins. Cancer is the breast, stomach, spleen, and elastic tissues, calcium fluoride, fluoride of lime. And so a crab walks sideways. It doesn't walk forward, it walks sideways. And the sun, all the sun's analemma throughout the year, when you see the sun make a figure eight, have you ever seen the analemma? There's a time in the middle of Cancer and Capricorn where the sun stops going up higher every day in the sky. If you drew an imaginary line in the sky, every day coming towards summer from spring, the sun's going higher and more west or east. Then it stops for 3 days and it moves sideways. Crabs walk sideways, so they're showing you that. In the Last Supper painting, Cancer is reaching over Leo to Virgo, showing you he's the crab who walks sideways. He's showing you how this works. Leo, the lion heart, is your motor nerves, your back inside, and guess what? Near the heart, in your heart, all right? Magnesium phos. Then us, we're the Virgos. That's the next one down. Our bowels, solar plexus, and our oil producers. So Virgos have a lot of indigestion trouble later in life, bowel trouble, because it's your bowels and solar plexus. The constellation Virgo is a woman holding a branch. You have 12 cranial nerves in your head, and you have 12 cranial nerves in your solar plexus, which look like a branch. If you ever look at the human anatomy, there's a branch right here at your solar plexus where your nerve complex come together. That's why she's holding the branch. She's holding your nerve center down there. And that's why Virgos are susceptible to poisoning, because we don't create this. I'll get into why that is. Libra is the scales of balance. That's your two kidneys. If you look at the Libra glyph, one scale's higher than the other. Your kidney's higher than the other, right? And the sun every year, when it gets to this happens in the day and the year, the sun will never, it'll stop rising any higher after summer in the sky. It'll start going lower and lower. The sun is judged. It's going down into the underworld, which goes into Scorpio, the genitals, which used to be the white eagle. And of course, Scorpio happens to be your procreative organs, your phallus, your vascular coatings inside your lungs, in your veins and things. So that's your lime sulfate. So Scorpios will have, that's like plaster of Paris. So Scorpios will probably end up with a lot of ulcers, stomach ulcers. They might have bleeding, internal bleeding and things like that. Then you get to Sagittarius, the man with the horse and the bow. The old name for Sagittarius, for a half horse, half man, the old name for a horse was hippo. And that's your hips and your thighs. And you have your nerves at the end, your sacral nerves behind your sacrum, which look like a horsetail. And so you have a half man, half horse with horsetail nerves behind their hips, pointing his bow and arrow towards Capricorn, which is, and silicea is what we call common quartz. So it's called spade. You can see up here, hips, thighs, surgeon, and spade. Quartz, when you crush it to the 12th or 6th times titration, like we talked about, and look under it at an electron microscope, it's really sharp. So it's called your surgeon or spade because the quartz at that level of titration is so sharp, it goes around the body and removes shit from your fibers for removal. So it's a spade, a shovel, or a surgeon. Our ancients knew all this. And then you have Capricorn, digestion, bones, knees, sacrum. So see, it's going around the body. Every one of these salts and every one of these star signs matches a part of the human body. And Aquarius is the water bearer. What happens to pregnant women to their ankles? Yeah, how are your ankles when you were pregnant? Were they swollen?
I was, no, mine weren't actually at all,
Yeah.
which is surprising because on a constitutional level, from a homeopathic perspective, I get on really well with nature mure as it in a 30C potency. But yeah, I didn't suffer from any, but I know, yeah, perfect for those poor women that have those big ankles.
Yeah, they look like those. What were those pickled people? Remember? I don't know. I'm showing my age, but they used to have these sewed dolls with the yeah, just yeah, they're swollen.
By those people. Yeah, what
Yeah, it's your ankles, your saline solution on the left top here, and your white corpuscles in your blood. And then Pisces, Jesus feeds everyone with 2 fish, 3 loaves of bread. That's your iron, your ferrum phosphate, arterial blood, red corpuscles, and feet. The 2 fish, right? And then on and on and on it goes. So the ancients were really clever. They drew our body in the sky and they named constellations after it. And they took the science of syncretism and said, and then they said it happens in the day, the year, in our body. They said this all comes together, right? And we could do 3 hours on this. So this is a quick run through. But so what happens is we live in sin. The sun every month, this is alchemy. So the sun's fire in the air, your mother gets sunlight and air, and she breathes it into the amniotic fluid, which is the water, the lower part of alchemy, and creates the fetus in the womb, which is the earth. Air, right? Fire, air, earth, water, and creates us in the womb. But we're only in there 9 months. So every month while we're in there, this is making these minerals. But we're only in there 9 months, which means you have to take your birth here, your month, and you have to say, I was there for my month and the 9 months before it, but I wasn't there for the 2 months after my month, right? So we're Virgos here on the right. So now this zodiac's upside down compared to the last I showed. So this would be backwards. So here we are on the right, you and I. You're a Virgo and I am, right? So that means we were in our, and you're at the end of this. What are you? You're September 19th,
17th.
17th, right? Yeah. So you got some of the Virgo salt, not all of it. So you weren't in your mother's womb for Virgo. You weren't, right? I'm going around this way. You weren't in there for Libra, right? Because let's go back. You were conceived 9 months before, right? Your mom and dad had a good party. Your dad and mom fucking drank some wine. So let's go back. You were in the womb for some of Virgo, Leo 2, Cancer 3, Gemini 4, Taurus 5, Aries 6, right? 7 Pisces, 8 Aquarius, and 9 Capricorn. You and some of Sagittarius. You weren't around for Sagittarius, Scorpio, and Libra. You were born in 9 months, not 12, which means all these salts here in some of Virgo, these are the things you're going to have trouble with because you don't have these salts in your body. So you're not just going to have food poisoning and bowel problems and this and that. You're going to have bladder, kidney, acid problems, acid indigestion maybe. You might have procreative problems, right? Vascular coating problems, CAS. You might have hip problems later in life, and it will come in your life cycle too. See? And that's just you born on a cusp. So that now here's a person conceived March 21st on the left. They're born here December 21st. So they missed these 3. So they're deficient in caliphos, natrium, ferrum, phos. They're going to have a problem with feet, arterial blood, red corpuscles, iron intake. They're going to be like hemophiliacs, right? They have ankle problems, saline solution, digestion problems, probably bone problems later in life. Not that they will for sure, but they're prone to it. And then as you go around, that's a person born right on the cusp. Here's a person born mid-cusp, so they're right born through the sign. So their mother didn't fully synthesize those 2 months of the sign. You need to be in there the whole month to synthesize. So they're missing 3 plus 2 more, right? And here's another one. Oh, yeah, there's another one born on the cusp. They could be missing 6. You see what I mean? And that's what Amanda Vollmer was saying in our speech. If you went into your doctor and they knew when you were born, and they wouldn't even have to ask, they're like, let me guess, you're having the bone problems. They would know why.
It's incredible, isn't it? And I think it's just so accurate. And actually looking at, I want to do more work with this, actually analysing people, because it does it does seem scarily accurate from my personal experience.
It is
Um,
accurate. And you can get it
mm,
from your food and you can get it through certain things, but it's not guaranteed. So cancer born people, 65% are weaklings. 65% are weaklings. But I had Alex Zek stand up at Liverpoco. Alex Zek, you've met him. He's a fucking monster, right? He's cancer. He's not a weakling. This guy is one of the 35% monster that made him stand up. And I said, that guy didn't get it. It's not guaranteed. But the thing you have to understand is because you're missing the next two signs, because you're only in for 9 months, which we'll get into at the end here. I won't go into cardinal and fixed. This will drag on. So just because you're a Virgo doesn't mean you're only going to suffer Virgo problems. You might suffer the next two signs where you weren't in the womb, right? I don't know if you even want to. How long are we running? Maybe we want to like.
I think I think I'm conscious of time. I think we should wrap up soon because I think
Right.
this is a good
If you
note
want to
to
do this
sort of
again
wrap up
later, we
on.
can get into this. So anyway, so you have. Let me just go back real quick. So the zodiac sign. Yeah, hold on. So a lot of people say to me, Steve, we know there are actually 13 zodiac signs in the sky, and the moon goes on 13 cycles. So why is this 12? Because a wave has 12 points. You don't have 13 cardinal nerves, and you don't have 13 cranial nerves and 13. We run on 12s, and so do wave functions. Yes, there are 13 zodiac signs in the sky, and the moon runs on the 13th cycle. This science is based on the sun. That's why they give a shit what your sun sign is when you're born, not your moon
Mhm.
sign. So when people ask me that, it's yeah, I get it. I know there are more than this. This science, this is just a map. It's not like technically exactly what you're looking at in the sky. You have your four cardinal points, which is a wave energy. Boom. I'll show you real quick. We'll blow through this. When a wave happens, down here on the left, can you see this on the bottom left?
Yeah.
Boom, cardinal, which means a generative force, male principle, boom, phallus, boom, wham. All of a sudden the wave changes. Then it gets up here and it peters out and steadies out. That's called a fixed sign. Then it changes. That's called mutable. That means the energy of the wave is no longer rising and it's no longer stable. It's ready to go to the next. And it comes down to the next cardinal. Boom. Now it's summer, right? Now it's summer for a couple months. We're all having a good time. Uh-oh, it's fall. Boom. Then it's winter, right? So that's why it's not big. I know there are 13 signs and all that. The science is just based on a map. And your body has magnetic force, creating and rebuilding. It has fixed force, vital force, which is energy. And then it has mutable cleaning system, electric force. Fruits are electric, right? You know that fruits are electric.
Mm,
So when you want to fast or detox, what do you eat? Fruits,
mm,
because they're electric. They're cleaning your body. When you want to build your body, you eat vegetables, right?
mm,
That's magnetic force. Vegetables are magnetic. They're down in the ground. The moon, the magnetism of the moon, sun is electric. The sun, the fruits are up in the trees because they reach the sun, the electric force. That's why your fruits are electric, is because they're up in the sky getting sunlight. Your vegetables are down under the earth where you got to dig them out because the earth attracts magnetic moon force. Farmers know you don't plant your crops until the harvest moon because the moon is magnetizing the ground. That's why your vegetables are your rebuilding force. After you detox, you eat vegetables to rebuild your body. And then you have your fixed energetic system, which is running your life, right? And I won't get into the rest of this, but this happens with all the signs and all the things fixed, cardinal, and renewable. And that's a whole nother thing we could talk about another time. These are the books I can't show you because they are archive is down, but the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation, the biochemic system of medicine, God, Man, the Word Made Flesh, and your book, which I don't have on here. Your book's more, I haven't read your book. Is it more just like the
it's
mechanical?
yeah, it's meant for people that want to really easy way to bring the tissue sorts to life. Each one is, I'll show you, like illustrate. Can you see it? So it's got
Want to
like,
blow it up? Yeah, you can share screen. I can stop for a second. Hold on. I'll stop sharing and then you can share. Yeah, blow yours up.
oh, look at
Whatever
this.
you're
I've got,
at.
yeah. So that, there we go. So it's
Yeah.
got like the summary, the key sort of general actions and keynotes, and then sort of summary for how it might present with each body part. But it's meant for beginners that just really want sort of something easy to refer to. It's the same format as my homeopathy book, because people found that really easy to use. And then in the index, it's got what the issues are and what tissues might be. Do you
I
know what
think
though?
that's the
It's
most
such,
important. Yeah, because there are people who are like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? Like, the only difference between what you did and what I'm talking about is for your thing, you need to have an ailment first. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I've got a liver cancer or a runny nose. I've got something wrong with me. Then you can go to your book and say, here's what's you're missing. What
yeah,
the only reason you would want to know the Zodiac thing is because you'd say, before I even get a runny nose or liver cancer, I know I'm going to get it. So
yeah,
because I'm this sign. And so the only
yes.
reason you want the woo-woo science behind it is to not have to worry about it.
I've got one page just literally for people should do obviously much further reading, but it has got just a summary on the zodiac signs and what tissue sort is for your zodiac sign. But it's an
Let's, if you don't mind, for a last thing, keep your book out, right? I'll just skip ahead. So I'll show that I'll show the certain signs and elements people have, and let's get your book out and see if we agree. How about that? Would that be fun to close it?
let's I've,
Yeah, yeah,
I've got for the zodiac signs, I've got what areas are most
yeah.
afflicted by the
And
various zodiac.
again, you have to remember it's not just your zodiac sign because it could be the two
Yeah,
after. Because if you're born Aries, you weren't in the womb for Taurus or Gemini too, right? So some people might say, "Yeah, Steve, I'm Aries, but I don't have this and that." But then when you get to Gemini and Taurus, you might go, "Oh fuck, that is me." Yeah.
yeah,
So Aries, potassium phosphate. This can cause, and this is again, people who are mentally deficient. Your brain has these same minerals. These cause a sagging of the brain poles when you're deficient. There's a lot of people spending money on psychiatrists and stuff for like they have a mineral deficiency. You can go see a shrink all you want, but it's you're not if your brain doesn't work, you're getting flustered over stuff. You can talk to a shrink all you want. If you have a nervousness condition, you can't talk your way out of it because it's a mineral deficiency. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? There might be a cause when you were younger why you're nervous because you got embarrassed by some event. But I don't give a fuck if you're paying a psychiatrist $200 a session and you
yeah,
don't have potassium phosphate, you're going to be nervous. You know what I'm saying? So
totally.
Aries, what do you have? I have extreme nervousness. I just took the 10 of each. I didn't, there's hundreds of them. I just took the basics. Insanity. How many people are thrown in an insane asylum? They have a
Yeah,
potassium phosphate deficiency. Paralysis. Oh no, that's polio. No, it's not. Hysteria, softening of the brain and spinal cord. That's meningitis. Nervous headaches, mental, physical exhaustion, fainting, strange forebodings. These people are like, oh, something's just.
yeah.
These are like hypochondriacs. They're like, I don't know what's something bad's gonna happen. You know? Yeah, hungry feelings after you eat. Like you can never get satisfied. What do you have? Yeah.
So what you need to do, so obviously you'd look it up in here. So Aries, obviously Caliphos, and then here like a really high level summary: brain, spinal cord, sensory nerves, and lower jaw. But then what you've just said in terms of looking up Caliphos, it's the general keynotes. It works directly on the nerve tissue, aids healthy brain chemistry, any condition arising from lack of nerve power like exhaustion and burnout. Pick me up tonic calms the entire system, useful for deep anxiety, nervous tension, emotional stress, anything where a lack of nerve tone such as twitches and weakness. good for insomnia as well. Then more detail. So then, yeah, it covers all of those. But also what you've said about the hungry, all gone sensation as
Look at
well.
that. We totally matched. Look at this, Lisa.
Yeah,
We're dead on.
diarrhea caused by emotional upset, the butterflies in tummy, faintness, palpitations, asthma that you can get, depressed nervous state, twitches and spasms, exhaustion, burnout, nervousness, anxiety, brain fatigue from overwork, depression, irritability, weak memory and dementia, insomnia, nervous headaches, worn out headaches due to overstudy, sensitive to noise, buzzing sounds. Yeah.
Yeah, so look at us. We're totally in match here, aren't we? And again, you don't have to be born in Aries, because you would, if you were born in before that in Pisces or even in the middle of Aquarius, you could still be suffering these because you wouldn't have been conceived till Taurus. You're only 9 months back. So you could say, I'm not an Aries, but I have these. Yeah, I would bet your ass you're born Pisces or
Yeah.
Aquarius, right? But yeah, we've just totally matched. You've got the longer list. So then we go to the next one. Will be Taurus. I've got diabetes, asthma. Oh, I thought diabetes, gout, drowsiness, bitter metallic taste in your mouth all the time, spinal meningitis, enlarged liver, headache on the top of the head, suicidal tendencies. I thought you need to go into a mental institution for that. Dizziness, biliousness or vomiting of bile, foul bile in your mouth, dirty tongue, anxious dreams and nightmares. What do you got?
Okay, so yeah, number one for detoxifier, diuretic, regulates fluid, skin conditioner, stimulates liver. It attracts water to eliminate, opposite of apnea, which attracts water to be used, fluid retention, flushes toxic buildup, helps heal gut, any liver issues, constipation, brown green tongue, use after head injury. And then I've got mental problems arising from head injury, bilious headaches, head injuries, tongue looks dirty and green, vomiting, bile and nausea, diarrhea, constipation, feels cheerful after stools, gallstones, liver issues, worse for lying on left side, indigestion, heartburn, persistent cough, parasites, worms, asthma worse in damp weather, catarrh, green mucus, supports kidney function, diabetes, sandy deposit in urine, eczema, fluid retention, cellulite, arthritis, gout, joint stiffness, rheumatic pains, worse for cold and damp, and genital itching. There we go.
If you got genital itching,
I'll end on that note for that one.
don't scratch it. You won't get rid of it. Yeah, so we matched. I need your book, actually. Yours is better than mine.
Do you know what? That's so fit. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of it. Is funny, isn't it? I love. It sounds really sad, but I love going back to my books because every time I look at a new remedy, like revisit a tissue salt or a homeopathic remedy, and I see extra things I haven't thought about before. But I'm just thinking of someone I know actually that's a Taurus that this could really help. Yeah. I'm going to write a little note down so I don't forget after.
It's quite funny because my son's a Taurus, right? Like when he was young, he was about 3 or 4. A Taurus, again, is your cerebellum. It's the bottom of your head. He had this giant lump. Taurus people, if you're watching this, you're Taurus, or if you're born before, if you're born Aries or Pisces, they hate humidity. They just would rather live in the cold than in the heat. And what happens is what this natrium salt does is when there's too much moisture in the air, humidity and moisture, your blood gets overcharged with water, and this salt's what gets it out of there. And so what you call malaria, people, oh, you get some mosquito-borne airborne disease. Malaria is what happens when you have a natrium salt deficiency and can't expel all the moisture coming into your breath out of your blood, and it gets overcharged.
Mm-hmm.
And these Taurus people get malaria. They get fever to sweat it out and chills and shakes. They say, oh, 30 men went into the Amazon and 5 fell ill with malaria. Like, how come 30 men didn't fall ill? Same mosquitoes biting you.
Yeah.
How come they used to take you up to a mountain resort with cool air and cure malaria with natrium salt and 3 days in a mountain resort because there's no humidity up there? How come Taurus is...
Would you love to know? I'd love to see studies done, like where case of malaria, what were the star signs of the people that did it?
Yes. How many were Taurus, Aries, and Aquarius right before them? Who
Yeah.
who are these people? And my family was crying because I can show you this book. I'll show you, like, my family is crying because in the cerebellum, his glands swelled up like a tumor, like a brain tumor, which is right where your cerebellum is. This is Taurus, is the Aries is the cerebrum, Taurus is the lower brain. They took him to the doctor. My whole family is crying. Oh, he's got a brain tumor. He's only 3 years old. I can show you my fucking notes in this book, right? I'm going to stop sharing screen. I'm going to stop share so people can see this, right? These are my handwritten notes from this book. I don't know where it's going. Oh, it's my light screwing it up. Hold on. Stop. This is not coming through.
Oh, you disappeared as well.
I
Like,
know I am. I got a green screen. Oh, fuck. It's not working, but my notes are here. I knew he's a Taurus, and it was a really humid year that year for Denmark. We don't usually. I knew it. It was water swelling and the brain axis swelling. I knew it. And they were taking him to the doctor for scans, and they're all crying. He's got a brain tumor. He's only 3. So this is when I put my son on cell salts. He's 18 and takes him to this day. I had this book, and I knew what was going on. And I said, "Hey, you want some candies?" Yeah, because these cell salts, they're like candy when you dissolve them under your tongue. I said, "Just put 3 of these under your tongue. You can't eat them. You got to put them under here." So I put them on cell salts for 2 weeks. Gone. And then they got all their scans back after the whole family cried and cried. Oh, I can't believe it's so unfair. He's dying of a brain tumor. And the hospital was like, he doesn't have a brain tumor. I'm like, duh, Fox, I told you this. But I sound like a crazy talking about like this to them.
it's just incredible, isn't it? It really is. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. I want to get everyone now on it. I'm just thinking, I want to get everyone on the cell or tissue sorts for their zodiac, but I'm thinking homeopaths and other professionals need to like look at this for their patients, like seriously, because I wish when I'd had my clinic now that when I'd looked at patients' intake form and seen their date of birth, that I'd looked at this and seen how it. God, it almost makes me want to start my practice up again. Just like,
Oh, like you, yeah. But like you saw when I talked to Bear, and Amanda said exactly what you just said. And Bear said the same. He's really big on cell salts. For me, like when you say, okay, Steve, how is this practical? I'll tell you how it's practical. Because you should see the trauma my family went through thinking our fucking 4-year-old son or 3-year-old has a brain tumor. You cannot believe the anxiety I saw around
yeah.
me. And I'm the only one who walked around for those 3 weeks just laughing my ass off like, you fucking idiots. I had not a worry in the world. Once you
Mm,
understand this knowledge, you are empowered. You're not going to freak out and stress out. You go, okay, it's this. Now, again,
mm,
like we said, there can be mental conditions to go with it. I'm not saying cell salts would cure everything in the world again, but to not, can you imagine the stress they were feeling and the stress I was feeling? Imagine
yeah,
the ostracization I felt being around
yeah,
these people. And because my ex-wife's mother is a midwife who teaches midwife, she's like a long-term medical allopathic, not even
yeah.
allopathic because midwives are not really. So the stress around me and that they were feeling and the fear and the anxiety and the doctors don't know. And then it's the doctors were like, okay, the scans came back negative and we don't know. And you're like, you're a fucking doctor. Like you never seen a kid with a swollen head as a Taurus. Come on.
They probably haven't. That's the sad because they've never even bothered to look. But if they had, it's just sad, isn't it? That's what the allopathic system is like, and the stress, like you
Mm.
say, that it causes people.
Yeah, and cancer too. It's not cancer. I don't know if you want to go through more of the signs or you want to
Well, do
stop.
you know what? I'm just. Should we whiz through them really quickly? Because 5 minutes. Something, and people are listening. They're probably thinking, well, "Shit, you only did those two." So we'll just, and then we'll finish up on this. But if we go through them really quickly, because I think people that are listening now, they're going to be. If we haven't done their star sign, they're going to
Yeah,
be
I'm in. I'm in. Hang on. Oh, it's going to let me just share that right back to that. Okay,
right.
here we go. Yeah,
Well,
I'm
let's
totally
whiz through.
down. It's
Okay.
up to you. I don't know if we're going. I didn't even know how long we've been talking. So,
My
okay.
longest ever podcast episode. It's yeah, and we'll finish this. Let's whiz through these and then we'll
Yeah,
wrap
it's
up.
fun anyway. And it's good too that your research is matching up with mine. So people don't go, oh, this guy's full of shit. Like, okay, if I am.
No, it's spot on.
So let's go to next. Gemini again is your hands, your lungs, the two twins, Castor and Pollux, pluralgrams. This is mumps and measles. This is kali myrrh, chloride of potassium, Smallpox, acne, boils. Do you see these are the red bump diseases? Eczema, typhoid, typhus fever. Oh, I thought typhoid is a contagious disease. No. Syphilis, gonorrhea, that's an STD. No. Rheumatic fever, rheumatism, pneumonia, chronic coughs. Embolism means thickening of the blood. So these are going to be people who are going to have like strokes and blood clots and things. Stuffy head colds, swollen glands, mouth cankers, earaches, cracking noises in your ears. All right, what do you got? So there are no STD people. There's no, you're not going to, you can go bang all the hookers you want in Thailand. You're not going to get syphilis, gonorrhea. It's not going to happen.
What's really interesting is this remedy is actually, I'm going to go off on a tangent here and probably go over most people's heads, but it's really similar to the remedies that we think of related to the psychotic miasm in homeopathy, which actually originates from gonorrhea. And it all is about excess and overproduction. And so you've got things like mumps, and mumps is actually the childhood illness that helps clear that inherited tendency. And then you've got like the skin issues as well. So yeah, it's very similar here. Congestion in glands and lymph nodes, bleeds, sinusitis, discharges of mucus, chronic catarrhal conditions of the middle ear, closed eustachian tubes, ear infections, grey-white coating tongue, snapping noises in ear, thrush, tonsillitis, chronic sore throat, cold sores, canker sores, diarrhea of mucousy stools, vomiting, nausea, sluggish liver, loud, noisy cough with thick white discharge, croup, pneumonia, bronchitis, asthma of white mucus, catarrh and hawking of mucus, inflammation of bladder, cystitis, abscesses where swelling but no pus, acne, chickenpox, measles, mumps, eczema or skin issues of white discharges, warts, cleanses lymph, arthritis, rheumatism, swollen joints, congestion in pelvic area, and then just generally for all second stage and chronic inflammations, any sluggish conditions, chronic catarrhal conditions, pneumonia, helps eliminate thick white fatty discharges, may have white grey coating on tongue, helps with glandular issues, eliminates fatty buildup in arteries, and helps with production of saliva and help with digestion.
Yeah, Lisa, perfect. Yeah, and you know what? People will notice most of this is childhood diseases. Most of it, not all of it, right? Earaches, catarrh,
Yeah.
these bumps. When you have red bumps, this salt, chloride of potassium, kali myrrh, that not only makes up your lungs and pleural glands, it makes up all the fibers and tissues in your body. And I won't get into this is the story of Arachne. There are Greek mythologies and Roman mythologies and mythologies about this. When a child goes through a growth spurt, their young fibers die and they're making room for adult fibers. Where do those fibers go? How do you get them out of your body? This is a fiber disturbance disease. They either come out through bumps in your skin or coughs, mucus, thick blood, right? Swollen glands. The kid's growing. Oh my God, they all got mumps and measles and chicken pox and smallpox. Like, yeah, because they're turning into an adult. They're having a growth spurt. It's coming. You have to get rid of the dead fibrin. If you don't have kali myrrh, your body can't get rid of it naturally. You have to get rid of it somehow. These are where all these red bump diseases come from. You can take your kid to the chicken pox party all you want. They always go, oh, three of the kids got chicken pox, and you're like, and the other 9 didn't. Nobody ever talks about them. You're like, how come all 12 kids didn't get the fucking chicken pox? Because they were ready to go anyway, because they're at the same age of kids who are all going through this growth spurt. They're all third graders. Every one of them. You don't take a 12-year-old to a third grade chickenpox party. It never happens, right? They would have got it anyway, or they would not have. My son never got chickenpox or mumps or measles because of that thing that happened with his head.
Yeah.
I had put him on cell salts at age 3 or 4. So when he got chicken pox or mumps or measles or rubella, he had 3 dots on his forehead, 2 on his chest, couple on his elbow, 3 on his knees. And we took him into Klaus. My doctor was retiring. He was like a 68-year-old doctor who had been practicing forever. And I knew this. And I just asked him, I said, what has he got? Is it chicken pops, mumps, measles, rubella? He said, Steve, I've been practicing for 50 years. I've never seen a mild case like this. I don't know what he has. He's got a mild fever. Just take him home. They don't know the difference because there is no difference between mumps, measles, chickenpox, smallpox. It's the same disease. It's a fibrin disturbance removal. It's a detox of fibrin. That's it. Right. And he didn't get it because my son was not deficient in chloride and potassium because I
Yeah.
put him on it. Right. Yeah. So you don't have to have the chicken pox. And they tell us, don't they? Oh, you need to because if you become an adult, you don't have you're not immune to it anymore. You're like, you still get it. It's called shingles, douchebag. It's the same. Adult chicken pox is shingles. They just changed the name for fibrin disturbance, right? Or monkey pox, they'll call it now.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
God.
it's the same. Oh, cancer. Okay. Fluoride of lime, calcium fluoride. So, by the way, cancer is your breast, stomach, your spleen. These are your elastic tissues. So, Gemini is your fibers and solid tissues. Cancer is your elastic tissues, the moving tissues that connect stuff, connective tissue. So, this can be mental disease and uneasiness. You need elasticity in your brain. Varicose veins, elastic fiber disorders, obviously. Groundless fear of financial ruin. I think that's quite a funny one. People who think they're going to be like financially wrecked, you're having an actual mineral deficiency. Cataracts, dim eyes, blindness, born a physical weakling, as I said, Alex X cancer, malnourishment, or you do not digest or assimilate food. What do you have?
Okay, so again, the areas most affected: breast, stomach, spleen, elastic tissue, and it's all about elasticity, flexibility, and strength. So there can be connective tissue issues. It can strengthen the surface of bones and joints, helps with weak teeth decay, helps with weak ligaments, hypermobility, excessive bendiness, used for hard nodules, prolapses, varicose veins, piles, fissures, helps with cracked skin, lumps, swellings, cataracts, teething, tooth decay, inflamed gums, constipation, piles, croup, tickling in larynx, uterine prolapses, cracked skin and heels, wrinkles, stretch marks, hard swellings on nodules, hair loss, varicose veins, strengthens bones and weak ligaments, inflammation of knee joints, cracking in joints, injured ligaments, hypermobility, arthritis, heavy menses, postpartum hemorrhages, depression and indecision as well.
Crazy, yeah. Did you say stretch marks?
Yeah.
So for all those pregnant women and weightlifters out there worried about that, you mean they could take calcium fluoride and get
Yeah.
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 How about that?
There's a remedy for everything. There really is.
So here's for the Leos: magnesium phos, spasmodic impulses, twitching eyelids. I get those sometimes too, but I'm Virgo again. So again, lack of muscular force or nerve vigor, which is weird because Leos are very vital people. Severe nerve pain. So again, this is another nerve. This is a nervous system. This is nervous stuff. Cramps in the limbs, necks, fingers, or body. Lockjaw, nervous headaches, laughing fits for no reason, spasmodic coughing, seeing doubles, or you're like color or light sensitive, chronic hiccups, loss of smell. No, that's COVID. Chest pains, heart problems, and palpitations, epilepsy, writer's cramp, and urine retention.
Okay, so again, like very similar, some works on heart, motor nerves, and back, and then it's number one for cramps. So cramping, antispasmodic remedy. So any issues such as stammering, twitches, tics, squinting, angina pains, hiccups, writer's cramps or dancing cramps, colic, period pains that are helped by heat or pressure, shooting or radiating pains, can be irritable, insomnia, spasmodic headaches, tension headaches, disturbed vision, oversensitive to light, ringing ear, deafness, anxiety, teething, colic, heartburn, indigestion, hiccups, diarrhea, piles, flatulence, constipation, gallstones, spasmodic coughs, whooping cough, acute asthma, kidney stones, spasmodic retention of urine, flushes on the skin, any cramps or muscle stiffness, arthritis, rheumatism, period pains.
Brilliant. Yeah. And again, Leo is your heart and your motor nerves, your moving nerves. Because Leo people are very active. They're like Tauruses. They like to move a lot. If you're a Taurus, you like to dance probably and move and probably play sports and stuff. And then it's all your chest around your back and side. So you can see that's why it's your chest pains, heart problems, palpitations. This is all nervous shit, severe nerve pains. So like we're not talking like woo here. It's that The zodiac is set up to just describe what we're just talking about in regular medical terms. Here comes us, the Virgos. Catarrh, which is inflammation of the mucous membrane. So I'm a Virgo. I'm mucousy as fuck. Are you? I just am blowing my nose constantly.
Yeah, I get a lot of sinusitis, but not so much anymore, actually, but have been really prone in the past, definitely.
Yeah. Conjunctiva, which is pink eye, earaches, food poisoning, as we talked about earlier, stuffy colds with yellow green mucus coughs. I don't have this problem. You might vaginal, uterine, nose, face cancer, any cancer. This is a Virgo salt deficiency, typhoid, typhus, or any fever, sexual disorders, bronchitis, pneumonia. Again, you're getting like this mucousy problem to remove. Evening coughs, rattling or wheezing in the chest, blood poisoning, smallpox, eczema, scaly skin, thirstlessness. I get this a lot. I'm never thirsty as a Virgo. I don't drink as not. Do you drink a lot of water? I just am never thirsty.
I force myself to, but probably don't. No, I'm not really thirsty ever, but I do continually try and drink. I always have water with me only because I'm forcing myself to. But otherwise, I wouldn't.
I'm drinking beer and wine right now, but you don't see a water glass on my desk. I'm just never thirsty. Like it's okay. Joint inflammation, deafness, or tinnitus, I think too. Do you have tinnitus on your list? What do you have for Virgo?
I used to have a lot of ear issues as a kid. It's really interesting actually because Kali Sulph is really similar to the homeopathic remedy pulsatilla. So people that know homeopathy will see similarities. I use pulsatilla by the bucket load. So it's good for late third stage inflammations. I've got help builds new cells. Yellow green discharges may have history of suppressing eruptions, dry scaly skin conditions, chronic catarrhal complaints, chronic discharges, lax perspiration, works in conjunction with ferrum phosphorus, an oxygen carrier similar to pulsatilla, might be irritable, headaches, failing vision. I'm going really quickly now because of time.
That's
Ear
okay.
infections, yeah, deafness due to chronic catarrh, loss of taste, yellow slimy coating on tongue, loads of catarrh and mucus, rattling coughs, chest, bronchitis, cystitis, and skin issues, crusty yellow greenish discharge, eczema. I used to suffer with a lot of eczema, liver
Yeah.
spots, athlete's foot, brittle nails, poor hair condition, dandruff. So again, a lot.
It's quite interesting because my ex-wife is a Leo, but her birthday is 7 days before mine. So she's like cuspy. I'm on the cusp, right? She has eczema, like really has always suffered eczema. And again, like I said, when you go back in your sign, she wouldn't have been in the womb during Leo and Libra and Scorpio. Closer. So again, she's a Leo, but she's suffering Virgo conditions. And I'm
Yeah.
a Virgo, and I had like earaches. I constantly had quote unquote ear infections as a kid.
So did I. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
constantly.
like
Yeah.
just constantly. I'd be sitting there with a hot pack. My mom would give me the
Yeah.
hot. Yeah, that shit. It's because we're these. It's that got nothing to do with an infection. There's no fucking ear infection. Like this is why this knowledge to me is so brilliant.
Yeah. No,
Imagine
totally.
yeah. Imagine our parents knew this. They'd just give you Kelly Sulph instead of sitting there on the couch with the earaches every.
Imagine like birth keepers that knew about all of this so they can help the mother say, oh, have you thought about giving your baby tissue salts based on when they're born? This is invaluable knowledge.
I
Really
think
is.
so, yeah. So here's Libra, which is your bladder, kidneys, and your acid neutralizers. And
Yeah.
again, Virgos and Leos will probably suffer these too. Oh, lo and behold, over acidity. It's an acid neutralizing salt, and you get over acidity. These are people who probably they eat and then they get this acid reflux, constant cravings, upset stomach or acid reflux, quickly upset or unbalanced because too much acidity ruins the brain function. So Libras can get really upset and unbalanced, which Libra is the scales of balance.
Yeah. I'm married to a Libra. I would say this is yeah, very very true to be honest. But
Yeah,
everyone says how balanced, I mean, because they are on the surface really balanced. But yeah, it's really interesting.
it's quite funny because I'm Virgo like you, and a couple of my favorite girlfriends I had, it didn't last, but they were Libras. I got on really well with Libras. It's funny you're married to one because a couple of my favorite girlfriends were Libras. It's like we just got on like peaches and cream, but they're fucking crazy though. But
So When my husband watches this back, you're not crazy. I love you very
But
much.
in a nice way. They're not like, yeah, they're in a nice way crazy. Rheumatism, sour odor, grinding your teeth in your sleep, diphtheria, itching or morning nausea, headache in your forehead, hot flashes, fear of insanity, quarrelsome, disagreeable. My Libra friends are not. Oh yeah, one of them was one of them. Scabby ears, canker sores, sore joints, increased sexual desire. They're very sexual people, I can tell you that. Rashes, sleeplessness, and heart palpitations.
Yeah, so again, all about issues, bladder, kidney, acidity, and all about neutralizing acid, balancing acid. So natural and acid, there can be uric acid symptoms like gout, aids indigestion, golden yellow tongue, helps assimilate fats, helps insomnia, particularly due to indigestion, golden yellow discharges or coating on the tongue, sour discharges, and maybe anxiety, insomnia, headaches, conjunctivitis, eyelids that are glued together in the morning. There can be thrush, heartburn, indigestion, acidity, grinding teeth, pain after food, diarrhea with sour green stools, vomiting sour fluids, colic, worms and parasites, kidney stones, cystitis, skin issues with yellow discharges, greasy skin, cradle cap, hives, arthritis, rheumatism, gout, joint and muscle issues, yeah, and acidic vaginal secretions.
As you do. I think anxiety is really important there, Lisa, because there's a lot of people who would never equate like mental disorders with a physical salt deficiency.
And actually, that's something. I mean, I have to say, my book doesn't has a small, tiny bit on what the mental state might be like, but there's a lot more information out there. For I've seen some great. I'm just trying to think who it is. Some great Instagram accounts where they focus on tissue sorts and like the mental picture behind certain tissue sorts, which isn't what you necessarily think of, or we're taught it more in a physical sense, but there is the mental picture.
Yeah, because if your brain doesn't work, I'm not saying your brain damaged, but it's deficient. So yeah, again, like we said, how come some people can handle this and some don't? It's like women who go through, oh, I go through menopause and you can't talk to me during this time of month. I had an ex-girlfriend like that, like just went batshit fuck. She's probably watching, so I better just I won't say that. Anyway, it's a mineral deficiency. And she's, oh yeah, my family just knows stay away from me at this time. I'm like, or you could take these and in 14 days, everyone would love you all the time.
Love it, love
You
it.
know, yeah, I won't say anymore because if she's watching, I just won't say that. But anyway, okay, here come the Scorpios, nature's problem. These are the most lovely and loyal people, and you never want to piss them off. But this is lime sulfate. This is your procreative organs and your vascular coatings and casts. This is calcium salt. They can have infertility problems, burning skin and feet, anemia, stomach and bowel, or eye ulcers. They get ulcers a lot because this is your plaster of Paris, what you call gypsum. So this is the mineral that coats your veins and your stomach. So that when you have an ulcer, it's because you're missing this plaster of Paris coating in your stomach. So the stomach digestive acids are actually eating into the organ itself. And this is why a lot of Scorpios or people born after them, Sagittarius and Capricorns, will have this problem as well. Peeing blood, swollen gums, cheeks, third stage colds, pus production. They're very pussy, or a lot of discharge in the chest and ears, gonorrhea and syphilis, right? It's not an STD. Skin festers and unhealing wounds, cough with sputa, chronic sore throat, face pimples, acne during puberty, leaky gut or bowel syndrome, tuberculosis. Again, you don't catch TB, and inflamed bladders because, again, it's your kidneys, it's your vascular coatings. Yeah, these people can have these problems.
So again, yeah, number one, blood cleanser, cleanses and purifies, helps with any ailment where the discharge process lasts too long, helps remove waste from the bloodstream, speeds up wounds that are so to heal. Any pus forming ailment like boils or acne, thick, lumpy yellow pus like discharges, might be blood streak, glandular swellings, boils, abscesses, ulcers, changeable moods, irritable discontent, sudden loss of memory, acne, the edge of the nostrils may be sore, colds with thick discharges, dandruff, conjunctivitis, ear infections, tonsillitis, mouth ulcers, bronchitis, catarrh with thick, lumpy yet pus-like secretions, kidney pains, and then again skin issues, liver spots, chilblains, burning, itching soles of the feet.
I had a lot of acne too. I'm a Virgo too. So when I was a teenager, I had a lot of acne problems.
So
Yeah.
the ear infections, then it's almost like a timeline as we get
Yeah.
older. All these lovely things to look forward to.
Yes, it was not. It's not a nice thing to go. But again, if you go back to Virgo, Leo, Cancer, when you go back around the wheel, we wouldn't have been in our mother's womb for Libra and Scorpio, so we would have been prone to that, especially. So that's again what I'm saying. You just because it's not your sign, the next two signs that come after yours, you weren't
Yeah.
in. You'll start to see a lot of these in yourself. Okay, next comes Sagittarius. As I said, that's silicea. This is just common quartz ground down. So this is your hips and thighs, surgeon spade. Like I said, the minerals very sharp, so it removes a lot of things. And it's your insulation. Quartz is an insulator. So if you have you can have difficulty thinking or a disgust with life. You can be suicidal. Scales or lumps and losing, splitting hairs because these would remove lumps and scales and things in your body. This is what would get rid of them. Boils on the ears or the gums, tonsillitis, throat ulcers, cystic ear tumors, dullness of hearing, tongue ulcers or hardening like a real hard tongue, night sweats and limb jerks. Sometimes you get like jerky.
Yeah.
And I get some of those too. I have a little bit of this Sagittarius. Liver abscess, pus discharge from the kidneys and urine, vaginal discharge, syphilis, gonorrhea, or prostatitis, hard breast lumps. So, ladies, you don't have breast cancer like all the time. What you think like you can have breast lumps without that. Hips and joint disease, as I said, Sagittarius is the horse, hippo. So, of course, bronchitis, pneumonia, tuberculosis, and chronic foot perspiration. That's a
So it's so that's a good note. And so it's a skin tissue conditioner number one. It acts on bones, glands, skin, strengthens connective tissue. It aids assimilation, metabolism, eliminates toxins, strengthens hair, skin, and nails. Slow healing, or those with a tendency to scar, helps ripens and release abscesses. Mentally stronger mentally than physically, oversensitive to noise, chronic headaches, sinusitis, hair loss, styes, cataracts. Can use when ear infections turn to glue ear, tooth decay, canker sores, sore gums on mouth, constipation, anal fissures, poor assimilation of nutrients, slow healing infections such as pneumonia and bronchitis, chronic cystitis, helps ripen abscesses and boils, nail issues, hair loss, split ends, poor hair growth, acne, pimples, slow healing skin, offensive sweating, all skeletal strength problems, arthritis, rheumatism, stiffness.
Yeah, quite a lot of sweating. What's interesting is we didn't get into this, but another thing about learning the zodiac. So Sagittarius is dead 180 degrees across from Gemini. So you said there's skin disorders. That you'll start to find out that when you learn this zodiac that I'm talking about, a lot of the salts that work together are either 180 across or 90-degree angled, squared. So you'll start to see that some of these conditions need 3 or 4 salts to cure. And every freaking time, almost they're right 90-degree or straight across the wheel because we are energetic centers. We're like circuits. So this energy center is connected to that energy center of body part. And this is that, right? So you'll start to see that your body is energetically connected around this zodiac wheel, which is crazy. We're only just denting the surface, but
That's amazing.
Capricorn, so that's the goat fish. Lime phosphate, that's your digestion system, your bones, your knees, and then your sacrum and albumin. So you can have bone decay, or I don't know what Bright's disease is. I guess bone decay, joint pains, poor memory or thought or weak mind. And again, you'll see that 90-degree squares with Aries, the mind, the upper mind. Fear, panic, solitude, like you want solitude, like you don't like to be out in public. Cold, tight, crawling head sensations, like something's crawling in your head. Putrid breath and taste in mouth or a stiff tongue. Chronic tonsillitis, swollen glands. aching eyeballs or light sensitive, anemia or like cold numb feelings, sore throat, trouble swallowing, heart palpitations, which it's almost 90 to Leo, bone pains, weakness, easily broken bones, or spinal irritation. So it's a
It's
bone,
funny.
pretty much your bones and albumin, pretty much, yeah.
This is so my mum. She is. It's so her. So I've got her on this actually. So yeah, again, number one for bone health, stimulates cell production. It's a restorative tonic as well after acute illnesses. So bone health, exhaustion, anxious about future, impaired memory, headaches, especially during puberty, dizziness, vertigo, sinusitis, photophobia, earache, swollen glands, difficult teething or tooth decay, aching throats, chronic enlargement of tonsils, acidity, indigestion, heartburn, gallstones, bronchial asthma, flu, catarrh and tough stringy mucus, suffocating coughs, stones in bladder, hair loss following fevers, skin issues with thick yellow discharges, anemia, general bone health, broken bones, fractures, arthritis, rheumatism, with numb feeling, absent periods, and uterine displacements as well.
A what? Neutering displacement.
Yeah, displacements.
What's
Yeah.
that mean? Uterine or neuter? What does that mean?
Uterus issues.
Oh, uterus is okay. All right. And then we got two left we're getting through. Aquarius, this is the water bearer.
Yeah.
Right? So this is your nature myrrh. This is table salt. Now, you can't, because we're talking about titration, what all that means is you reduce this to so fine a powder that you can be taken up into your water membranes. I don't care how much table salt you eat, it has to dissolve in water. You can't just eat table salt. You can't just swallow table salt and go, oh yeah, I got my nature myrrh mountain. It doesn't work like that. It has to be diluted, which it is already in your foods and your vegetables and your fruits and salts, or which is why Barbara, what's her name, the Australian, Barbara,
Barbara O'Neill.
that's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
He tells you to put a little when you're drinking water. You
Yeah.
need the water to titrate this to the 6th degree. It won't, you can't just eat salt. Like, you're not getting your salt. It's good on your food and in it. But so lack of this in Aquarius, again, is your ankles, your saline solution. So the salt in your blood. This is why you have salt in your blood. You have table salt in your blood and your white corpuscles. So you can, if you lack this, you can be tired or very weary or irritable, very irritable. Hay fever, influenza, gonorrhea, syphilis, again, not STDs, asthma, creaky joints, twitching spasms, fidgeting, diabetes, anemia, rapid heartbeats felt in your whole body. So people get like over anxious almost, swollen glands, sore throat, dry throat, parched throat, too little or too much saliva, sunstroke. These people get sunstroke real easy. Delirium, muttering and wandering, despondent moods, body blisters, eye pains, and tear flow when you're not crying, and dandruff, scalp, skin, like eczema type of thing, but more in the head, eruptions. Yeah.
But yeah, but again, very similar. Balances fluids. Any condition with excess or deficient fluid, regulates moisture. Any clear watery discharges, dry skin, cracked lips, dehydration and dryness, salt deficiency, loss of taste and smell, crave salt, might be depressed, tension and fatigue, hammering headaches, watery discharges, sinusitis, granulated eyelids, roaring in ears, any watery discharges in the ears, cracks in the corners of the mouth, sore throat with a feeling of a plug or lump, dehydration, cold sores, canker sores, constipation, diarrhea, watery vomit, water brash, violent thirst, yet longing for salt, indigestion, colds, catarrh and mucus, but with thin watery discharges, bronchitis, asthma, bladder or kidney issues, eczema with clear discharges, dry or cracking skin, acne, warts, anemia, hives, arthritis, and absent periods.
Yeah. And like I said again in the beginning, your nature, this is nature myrrh, right? Natriums are your fluids, your calciums are your structural compounds like bones, and your phosphorus are your nerves, your electrical system, right? Of course, you're craving salt, of course. And it's always
Yeah.
a fluid problem, right? It's a fluid discharge. This is like Berlando said, it's just basic histology. And then the last one is Jesus, Pisces, the two fish, the 2 feet. This is iron, ferrum phosphate, not to be confused with the fake iron they put in your cereal that kills you. Your arterial blood, red blood, and your corpuscles in your feet. So you can get cancer because you have putrefied or overacidic corpuscles. It can make you feel real depressed or crushed or discouraged very easily. Not that you can't be depressed, like if your mom dies. These are people who are depressed over stupid shit, right? It's not to say like, just because you're depressed, you don't have an iron deficiency. You really might have a reason. Insanity, sore pains in or on the body, like just constant body aches, stiff back, sore muscles, it should be hyperanemia. I've just spelled it wrong. And anemia. All your fevers are iron deficient because your iron is what gets the fever going. It's what creates heat. Iron is heat. And that's how you get toxins out of your blood is through iron heat. It's the first stage of all inflammation, blood rushes to the head and dizziness, cold and brain congestion, dull throbbing headaches, constant vomiting or like bright red blood or hemorrhaging, sore throats, congestion or nosebleeds. People who bleed in the nose too much, you're probably iron deficient and not ferrum phos deficient, not iron deficient, and inflamed gums.
Yeah, so same here. Number one, sort of anti-inflammatory first stage infection issues, any inflammatory state and fevers, red hot swollen, use when feel like coming down with something, first stage of acute illnesses. A disturbance of this sort can lead to congestion of blood vessels, causing increased blood pressure, risk of hemorrhages, helps with blood disorders, iron deficiency. It's an oxygen carrier, restores tone and equalizes circulation. So indifference, tiredness, exhaustion, throbbing or catarrhal headaches, nosebleeds, sinusitis, sore eyes, sensation of grains of sand under eyelid, ear infections, teething pains, sore throats with red and inflamed, diarrhea with watery stools, first stage for colds, bronchitis, pneumonia or flu symptoms, acute asthma, short dry coughs or croup, whooping cough with vomiting, loss of voice or huskiness, a lack of oxygen, frequent urination, abscesses, chickenpox, measles, mumps, varicose veins, anemia, hemorrhages, high blood pressure, arthritis, rheumatisms, sprains, and heavy periods. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. And as we talked about before with the malaria, this is quite often the Taurus salt is accompanied with a lack of iron because that's why they have too much water in the blood. They can't discharge it because it's the iron that will cause the fevers to discharge the water and make you shake and squeeze. So quite often, a lot of people who have malaria, they're missing both the Taurus salt and they have an iron deficiency or a ferrum phos deficiency. So that's what I'm saying. Quite often, these salts, it's not that you can just cure cancer with ferrum phos, right? It's quite often they work with another one. So people need
Yeah.
to be aware of that. And quite funny enough, when we talked about this, you saw this in the end of COVID series. We did the history of virology with Mark Bailey. I don't know if you saw that one with
I
Mark.
haven't watched it, but do you know what? It's so
Oh,
phenomenal. Like, and there's just so much good stuff in there, isn't there? There's 100 videos, aren't there? It's
that's
incredible.
great. Yeah, it was great. I did one with Mark Bailey and Mike Stone on that. We went through the history of virology. But where this all ties in is the ancient Irish druids, and they passed this on. They knew this science. This is nothing new what I'm talking about. This is thousands and thousands of years old. But around 2,400 years ago, there was a guy, Democritus. He wanted a unified model of life and disease, but no consciousness. So as to go full circle in that circle here, he didn't want spirit. People were like, oh, the gods are punishing me, which we still do today. I got cancer. Oh, poor me. I get sore throats all the time. It's like the gods are punishing me, right? So they used to know the science and then it got lost somewhere around 400 BC, if you believe historical timelines, but that's a whole nother story. I won't get into that.
Yes.
If you go by that, so it became a religion where the gods were punishing you all the time. And you got superstition and all this things like that. So this guy is the one who made atomism, and he's the one who brought in this, oh no, it's all a physical science. There's no mental to this, that. There's no spirit. He brought in the theory of atoms, which is just as thin as you could cut a piece of paper with a knife, the sharpest knife at the time. That's an atom. How big's an atom? It's the edge of the sharpest knife we have to cut through paper. That's it. And you're just atoms and molecules. You're not spirit. You're not anything. But he did it because people were getting this religious belief that they were being punished by the gods. Now, what's ironic about all this is when you understand astrology and what we've just talked about, and you understand the gods or the sun and the moon and the five wandering planets, you were being punished by the gods from when you were born because it's these salt, it's the lack of these salts from your birth that are punishing you. In a weird, ironic way, he was right. But his solution didn't tell you to just take these salts. It was just, oh, it's just cancer. It's what happens when molecules and atoms get bad. They just spread and get cancer. It's weird because he was half right, but half wrong. That's what's really funny about our whole medical system is it's you think it's a giant conspiracy, right? From beginning to end. They're all out to get us. It's just one after another misinterpretations that just added up into this colossal mind fuck of ignorance, in my opinion.
Summed it up really nicely, actually, and succinctly. And yeah, it is. So what do you know what, Steve? I think this has been amazing. I can't this is the title for my longest podcast episode ever, but
Go on.
it's amazing. Thank you so, so much. I feel, as you said, we've only in some ways scratched the surface and we've been talking for 3 hours. It's gone so quickly. Sorry,
Is
I've
it
kept
3 hours already? Oh no, I knew it.
yeah, it's 8 o'clock here. So we started at 5. My God, I'm sorry. So I think the listeners are really going to love this and learn so much. I think their minds are going to be blown. Is there, we haven't covered loads, but is there anything that you feel like to wrap up that you want to share that we haven't touched on that you feel is missing from what we've talked about, or yeah, any thoughts?
Thanks, first of all, Lisa. I've been waiting to meet you. Like I knew we've only talked a little bit, but I knew it was going to be fun. But you're not catching diseases from anyone. There are probably things on this list that would probably your listeners know this, but to normal people, what? I didn't catch cancer? You mean I didn't get an STD from having sex? You don't catch anything. There's nothing you catch. You're deficient. As I'm saying, and it takes a lot of effort to learn this. So I understand what I'm saying is like health shouldn't be a rebel, a thing. It's a set of knowledge. And if you want to heal yourself, you need to do like a dummy like me can learn this and explain it in simple terms. If you want to be healthy, even if you're like me who lives an unhealthy lifestyle, you have to take the time to sit and learn this to a degree. Then you go see people like yourself. And please don't fucking write me and send me your pictures of your diseases and your mom's sick with like this and that. I will help you, but I get a lot of these letters. It's up to you to take your own health into your own hands. And if you learn this stuff, it's not really that complicated, right? Like medical school is for you guys. When you come out of medical school, you're like, what the? Don't they make it just sound like all complicated? And I don't think it is.
I think I obviously didn't go to medical school, homeopathy school. We do learn about anatomy and physiology, but it's worlds apart. But I think the jargon and the complicated, and I'm with you. My mission, my issue to simplify things as much as possible for people to use at home, because you don't need to do very much to make significant steps. I say even with homeopathy today, I shared just getting 7 remedies that cost like what, $6, £5 each. Just having 7 of them, you can cover so many different issues which you can safely prescribe, use at home for even newborns. And I think that's what I'm the same as you. I want to try and get people using this stuff at home. Be your own doctor.
And there's stuff like cinnamon and dandelion root. There's some great shit. I'm not saying this is the end all of it. I will reiterate that. I'm not saying you just need cell salts. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying if you're not using these to your fellow homeopaths and naturopaths, if you don't know what we're talking about and you're a naturopath or a homeopath or forget the allopaths, they're just never going to listen to this. But you're not listening if you're allopath, but you need to really learn this. This is really important stuff. And same at home. And again, if you have something really bad, I say physician, heal thyself. But if you can reach a point where you need help. So I would say go to not me, but people like you. Do not go to an allopath unless you've literally been run over by a truck. Like my arm wasn't hanging off. There's no fucking way I'd ever go into a doctor for anything.
Like, so yeah, accidents, that kind of thing. But do you know what, you're so right. And actually learning when to when you should self-treat versus when you shouldn't. Like I get all the time, you know, on Instagram, oh, what do I take for? And then it's some allopathic chronic condition they probably have for 20 years. And it's like, look, there's too much stuck energy, there's too much that needs to be done to address that on your own. You need to get help. So it's learning what you can treat yourself at home and what you should get help for. But there is so much we can do. Like you're,
Yeah,
you know,
Amanda's even said that to me. She's, I would never recommend antibiotics unless you're at a stage where you are so toxic. Like there is a time when you might, even a naturopath or a homeopath might recommend an allopathic treatment just for an emergency, stop the press kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah. And when you're desperate and in pain and discomfort, every now and again, I think we're sent these like little reminders, as I say, back in February when I was like day 5 of thinking I can't do this anymore, I'm so
Yeah.
uncomfortable. But actually it was just a case of finding the right remedy. But sometimes, and then you can do stuff to support yourself as well. There's always stuff if we need to after that we can get the body back into balance.
Oh yeah, I'm the same. I'm like vehemently against aspirin. I've had times where, and I never get headaches because I take these cell salts. But I've had times where either like a hangover, not never when I'm sick and detoxing, but a pain. Usually it's not aspirin, but what do you call it? Pain. I don't know what you call it. Ibuprofen.
Oh yeah.
I've had times where I've had physical pain from like broken ribs, for instance, whatever. I'm just like, fuck you, it hurts. I'm taking ibuprofen. I know it's bad for me, but the pain sitting here, I just can't handle it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use it for a fever or anything, but there are times you can use their medicine.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, isn't it? It comes back to that what you said at the start, like everything's in balance and not having like just really polarizing views, like the same as with looking at everything on the spectrum. So, Steve, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Is there,
Yeah.
how do people get in touch with you? Or like, how do they find out more, see what you're up to, connect with you? Or you don't want any more letters of
Well, I'm really a filmmaker and a musician, so I have nothing to do with medical. So thank you for inviting me. I don't know why I'm here, but
I saw you on the end of COVID, and I was like, oh my god! And yeah, obviously at Liverpool as well. Amazing, amazing.
well, thank you. You can see me on there. Like I've got 20 movies about virology, germ theory, blah blah blah. I have a good movie about these cell salts called Biochemistry Debunks Religion, Freemasonry, and Chickenpox. You might like that if you want to get deeper. You can go to Spacebusters on Odyssey, BitChute, Spacebusters, YouTube. I have a lot of cell salt talks on there, and we covered other areas. Today was good because we got into more of the practical, like what signs suffer the illnesses. I never get into that. I usually go too much into the wheel. So this was the first time I got into that. If you want to send me pictures of your mother's genital warts or whatever, it's spacebusters at hotmail.com. But I can't, again, I can't give you medical advice, but if you're really screwed, contact Lisa, or if you really need to, like, write me and I can tell you what I do. And that's my disclaimer. I can't give advice, but I can tell you what I'd do if it were me. And that's that. But please don't.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to put your links in the show notes. Yeah, just thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time. And yeah, sorry for taking up so much of it, but I'm sure everyone's going to love listening to this. So
I enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to meeting you too.